What? Hey, we're live. It's on.
Right on.
Bill Deneen.
Yes, sir.
Right on.
If I'm leaning back a little.
No, you're good. I'm just. Do.
The third Deneen you're entering.
Third Deneen.
Possibly a fourth, because my brother's coming in.
Which
in a
one?
couple weeks. John.
Really?
Yeah.
John's the ex-ranger, right?
No.
No.
He's an Army vet. He's retired. He did 20 years active duty. And you're the one he was saying is like, how are we supposed to do a podcast when he lives in South Carolina?
That's yeah. He's got the R&R podcast.
Yeah.
R&R podcast.
Retired and registered.
Retired and registered nurse.
Retired. Yeah, his wife's a registered
Yeah.
nurse. Yes.
Yeah, the registered and retired one of the two.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I got it one that goes one way or the other.
He's on YouTube too, right? Isn't it on YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
R&R
he
podcast.
was on Spotify,
Uh-huh.
and I think I don't know, maybe they decided to go to YouTube, but
Yeah.
and he said something about like some kind of not trademark infringement, but like I guess he used music that wasn't.
Yeah, they're
And
real
he got-
wonky about that,
yeah,
man,
and
which I think is dumb.
Yeah, it's like something like that, and it's not like he's in trouble or anything. He
Yeah.
just got taken down.
Yeah.
And
Did he get taken down or that episode? Do you know?
not sure. I never went into detail about it. I didn't ask him. I know he's.
Maybe we'll do an impromptu podcast while he's in town.
Yeah, it's like I think he came. That's why he's not on Facebook, because he was posting it on there, and they were like, we can't do that," or something like that.
Yeah.
So he come off of there, and he's still on Instagram, and but he doesn't post anything about his podcast on there. I think it's strictly YouTube. But like his wife, well, Stacy, username. I'm not big on using names on public type stuff, but
Sorry.
she'll post like the link, but you can't like watch. You have to go onto YouTube and like type it in. She won't, because I guess that's part of the issue or something. Like if they.
Well, I do know that like on Instagram, whenever I post episodes, I can't put a link on Instagram. Even if I do put it, you can't click the link. You have to highlight it and copy it and then go to YouTube and type it in.
Yeah, I think that's what she does on Facebook. Like,
Yeah.
you have to go there to, because like you
Well,
can't-
Facebook owns Instagram, so they're the same.
Yeah, Facebook won't allow you to play it through Facebook.
Yeah.
So that's whatever.
Yeah.
So I get it. You know, there's lawyers involved and people have to protect what's theirs.
Their interests. I get it.
Yeah. So I don't, but it's whatever. So
Yeah.
You got to use public domain, whatever it may be, for you to have that stuff. That's why, and this is crazy, that original movie, Bad News Bears, with Walter Matthau, Jackie Earl Haley, when he was like 12. In that movie, they used all like Mozart, Beethoven, like old school orchestra music because the budget was so low for the film, they couldn't use
Newer music.
Yeah, so they had to use stuff that was public domain so they could add music to the movie. So, which was, it's like, hey man, but it worked. That was a great film. But yeah, stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
But anyway.
All right. Bill Deneen, welcome.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
I wanted you on specifically because I enjoy your conspiracy shit that you post. You specifically posted this. This is the one that I was like, man, yeah, I need to talk to Billy about this. You posted the real conspiracy is the government cares about you and is going to take care of you or something like that. I don't remember the exact post, but you had posted something along those lines on Instagram one day.
Man, I can go on for days on this.
But before we get into that,
Okay.
I want to share with you my current conspiracy theory that I have.
To have it.
So, you know the Jeffrey Epstein stuff that happened,
Yes.
right? Okay. Have
what
you
they
ever
allow us to know.
touche? But have you heard the theory that he was a Mossad agent working for the Israeli government and getting dirt on uh, political people here and everything like that? Have you ever heard that?
I've heard it. I have not read into it. I
Okay.
saw something about it.
So I haven't really read into it either. It's something I heard. But then with everything that's going on with the Israeli Palestinian thing going on, and how we continue to send money, even though obviously there's a lot of citizens throughout the US that disagree with it. There's also um, politicians that disagree with it, but also those same politicians still vote for additional funding sometimes. So my idea is that they did that shit on purpose. So whenever something like this comes along, they say, hey, you're going to continue to send us money, whether you like it or not, because guess what we have on you now? Because, I mean, the theory
Yeah,
was that
no,
he was
that
hanging
works.
out with a bunch of politicians and
Yeah,
getting dirt on them. And if he really was working for Mossad, which is an Israeli uh,
and there's some proof to
entity,
back that.
like,
Hmm.
I mean, it's not a far-fetched idea
No, it's not. It's
because there have been politicians that have come out and spoken against funding Israel and everything that's going on right now,
mhm.
but yet they still vote to send additional funds when it comes time to vote, you know.
Yeah. When it comes down to the wire, they're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
They jump right on when for the last several weeks or months they were like, oh, why aren't we talking peace? We want peace,
that's what I'm
which is what
saying.
I want, which is
Which is what a lot of people want.
yeah, and people think I'm a little bit or I've been called a Russian asset or a Putin sympathizer. And the same thing like Hamas wise because I want peace. And it's like, no, they need to be wiped out. And I'm like,
You're gonna have to be more specific.
well, like if I say, there's why is nobody talking about peace on either side of these two wars going on?
Mhm.
And
And by that you're referencing Ukraine and the Israeli conflict,
yeah,
correct?
Israel,
Yeah.
Hamas, and Ukraine, Russia.
Mhm.
And Hamas or what's going on in Israel, I don't know everything. I know a lot. That's a little more complicated situation, I think,
That's a
than
1,000-year complicated
yes,
situation.
that's well,
They've been duking it out for a long time.
yeah, I mean the horizon like when Israel became its own country or when we the power that be after World War II, I'm not sure who all's involved. I know the Allied, most of Europe and the Jewish people that were being persecuted across that part of the world, obviously Russia, most of Europe, wanted a place of their own where they can be away from that particular train of thought, which was ingrained for over a decade with the Nazi Party.
Mhm.
So
Was it
whoever it may be established Israel as a kind of safe haven for Jewish people in Europe. And I'm not 100% on that, but I know after World War II, a lot of them moved there and Israel became a country like 46 or 47,
I know.
one of those
It was like in the
years.
40s, yeah.
And for several years, I think a decade or more, there were Muslims and Jews living there completely in peace. And they got along and they traded and shared and whatever and took care of each other with their economies back and forth.
Hey, that's enough.
And everything was fine. But then suddenly there was a rise of extremist groups. And I'm going to say this because I don't know, this is all I know, like Muslim extremist groups. And I mean, talking very small percentage
Mhm.
of the Muslim population in that area they didn't want them there, and
They didn't want the Jews
they
there
didn't want
anymore
Jewish people there in Israel. They wanted that,
to be the Muslim land.
yeah, because they were there already, and they kind of, I don't know if they kicked them out. I don't think they did.
Well, what I mean by a thousand year conflict is they've been fighting over specifically the Jerusalem area. People have been fighting
Oh
over that
yeah,
land for a long,
that,
long
but
time.
yeah,
It's the Holy
that's,
Land.
yeah, Muslims,
It's the Holy
Jews,
Land for
and
a lot of people.
Christians. Yeah, yeah, that's basically to Muslims, Jews, Christians. That is the holiest of holy places, Jerusalem, um, Mecca. That it's all right there. That is the brain center of the biggest religious groups on the planet, next to maybe Buddhists and Hindu. I don't know their numbers, but I know there's over a billion Christians, over a billion Muslims, Jews, Hebrews. I guess you can say it's not quite as big because of
They're not the
obvious
party or
turmoil
everything that
over the
happened to them.
last
Yeah.
7,000 years. They've been persecuted for a long time, and throughout history. Again, I don't know all of it. I know Northern Africa, Egypt, enslaved them for a long time. They left, went there to like the Jerusalem area or that part of the world and established themselves there, and then expanded from there into Europe, east, west, north, everywhere. And then a lot of that came back during World War II, but also in Russia during the revolution, like when Stalin took power, he was, I wouldn't say he was really like persecuting the Jews specifically. It was anybody that had anything of any value.
Uh-huh.
And I guess in Russia during that revolution, the Communist Party, the Soviets kind of, the purge, they got rid of a lot of that and took everything. And a lot of Jewish people and amongst other religions were
Yeah.
either worked to death, killed, or put into prison for life just because they didn't like. You raised an eyebrow to Stalin, you were done.
Russia's one place I would not want to go to prison
No, they're
in. Like, you think our
notorious.
prisons are bad here?
Yeah, that's perspective. Like the Russian prisons, you're probably right, are probably worse per capita than the United States.
Sure.
But I mean, if you go into like one of those really bad prisons here, like a military prison,
Yeah.
maybe a federal prison,
Prisons can be bad here.
yeah,
most
like
things,
I would
but
say
theirs
more.
is really cold. Russia's cold, man.
Yeah,
And that's
they
what I'm
put 'em up
mostly
there.
worried about.
Yeah, they put them
by
up
the
in
Arctic
Siberia. You're like,
Yeah.
they put them in the old gulags up there. Which is just, I mean,
And that's the kind of thing, like, even if you were to break out of the prison, most likely the weather's going to kill
yeah. Going back, like now more modern, give them a little history like Putin did when he talked to Tucker Carlson.
Mhm.
But a lot of people here that are protesting against Zionists, Jews over there, and here, people who are Jewish here who have nothing to do with anything going on over there. They might have relatives over there, maybe, I don't know, but they're Americans and they've lived here their whole life, and they're persecuting them too just for being who they are, which I think is horribly wrong.
you. Absolutely.
And it's like guilty by association, which is,
Terrible.
yeah,
Terrible way to look.
it's stupid. It
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to a rationally thinking person. But they are like, oh, the Jews need to go. They were never there in the first place. And what are you talking about, man? They've been there for like 10,000 years. That's where like their religion, I guess, oriented from, like that part of the world. It's like they've been there forever, forever. And they like, oh, you need to leave. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's like Jesus Christ was Hebrew, was a Jewish man. That was 2,000 plus years ago. Moses took his people out of Egypt over there. That was what, 5,000
And
years
that's when
ago?
they trek through the desert and
Yeah,
everything.
the Exodus, book of
Yeah.
Exodus, Um, they were searching for 40 years before they found where they wanted to be. And I don't know, they just got lost in Saudi Arabia somewhere in the desert because that's a
I'm
pretty big desert.
I'm sure it's easy to
Yeah.
get lost in the desert.
Yes. But I don't really know all that. I just know they went from here to here and
It
they've
took
been
them a
there.
long time.
Yeah. And it 5,000 years
Yeah.
they've been there, give or take several hundred years, one way or the other. I don't know the exact math, but and they don't know that. And even if you try to tell them that, they're not going to listen to you because they've already made up their minds. And you can't talk to people who think 100% emotionally instead of logically. Um, it's difficult to even discuss. It's like, I want to discuss with people on that side, like, what are your thoughts on this? But if I come back with actual historical fact, they're no, that's not what, and they cut you off and they yell and scream and and possibly even attack you. And it's like, how are you supposed to reason with people that think that way?
Yeah.
They don't want history. They don't know history. They don't even want to know about it. And uh,
Well, our mentality nowadays seems to be more and more like that, more uh, one-sided. Like
yes,
very, very much teams. Like we'll just use Republican, Democrat for
hmm,
example. A lot of people put oh, you don't think this way? Oh, you must be a Republican, and it's always the
been accused of that.
far right wing Republican that they accuse you of being, not a rational
Middle
thinking
ground.
middle ground person, where most people actually are.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
probably 60% of the country
yeah,
is. Yeah.
most people are not either far left or far right. Most people are in the middle.
Hmm.
You know,
The gray
they,
areas.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Me and my wife, we're in the middle, but we do lean more conservatively with
Mhm.
our thinking. But that also comes with age too. A lot of the times, the
You're
older
exactly
you
right.
get, the more conservative you get, the more you start thinking about the future and savings and investing and blah blah blah. That's conservative ways of thinking.
Hmm.
You know, so
And generally, younger people.
are more liberal. And
Yeah,
which, don't get me wrong, like I used to be
yeah, I was
way
pretty
more liberal
liberal.
when I was in my early 20s than I am now, you
Hmm.
know?
Very progressive thinking. And there's nothing wrong with being progressive or liberal. I don't think it's unless you take it to like the absolute extreme. But that's anything.
Mhm.
Like I could even say David Goggins. Dude is the literal extreme
He
when
is
it comes to physical anything.
stay hard, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly.
I got
It's
it
like,
tattooed on my leg.
yes, it's like somebody who wants to get in shape and do better. And they're like, man, I'm gonna be like David Goggins. And I'm like,
You can't be like David
I'm not
Goggins.
saying you
Like,
can't, but I'm like, dude, you've got a lot of work to do. And your mind has got to completely change because that is he does some of the craziest stuff I've ever seen people do physically. And I mean, run 120-mile ultra on a broken foot.
yeah,
It's like, and he breaks his foot 20 miles in and runs for another 100 miles on a broken foot. It's like most athletes, 99.999% of athletes would not do that. They break their foot. They're like, hey,
I'm
dude,
done.
okay, I'll be back next year.
Yeah. And
So,
they'll take 6 months off to let it heal properly.
mhm,
No, he'll break his foot, continue running, finish the race,
yeah.
get it taped up. I actually saw there's a video of him in the middle of a race with, I think, one of his coaches, where he's laying on a rack.
Mhm.
I think, yeah.
Uh,
What cot?
yeah.
Cot. He's
Yeah.
laying on a cot with a blanket over him, and his coach is over there taping up his foot. I think it's that one you were
Yeah.
talking about.
Well, I mean, his first ultra he ran, which I'm sure you read his book, Stay Hard. Where's it at? It's up there. There
You
it
can see
is.
the DAV.
Yes. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
That
Got the
one's
same book.
that
Yeah.
one's the actual. That's the never finished book.
Oh,
I don't have his first one.
I've
I
got it
don't
if you
have
want
his
to borrow.
first one.
Or
Yeah.
if you read it, yeah. But he ran his first ultra ever, which was on a track. like at a university in Southern California, somewhere San Diego.
I've heard this story.
He was training legs the day before with his SEAL commander. This is when he was still in the Navy and a SEAL, training legs, like doing like lifting. And then he ran out and ran 100 miles the next day. It almost killed him. He said his by the end, the doctors are like, his kidneys are failing. He is dying. You need to get this man to a hospital or he is going to die within the next 24 hours. He literally ran himself to death because he would not quit. And totally unprepared. So he's, and he says that in the book. He's like, yeah, I'm way trained better now. He's like, that was a learning lesson. But he was trying to do one ultra to get under his book so he'd get into the Badwater one that was 4 to 6 months later. And the guy turned him down like, you ain't shit. You haven't even done an ultra yet.
Well, if I remember correctly, because I've heard him tell this story, and so he finished that 100 miles in like 19 hours, but the Badwater Ultra is a 24-hour race.
Yeah.
And the guy who turned him down, he was like, the point of a 24-hour race is to run for 24 hours. And he didn't do that by completing that 100. So he was afraid that he wasn't going to let him in or something like that.
I think it was like, you're not ready, like health wise. Like, this is one of the most brutal ultras that there is on the planet. I mean, you start at 10 a.m. in Death Valley in August, and you have to run like 117 miles. And from your start, I mean, I don't know how many feet below sea level you are. It's several hundred feet below sea level. And then 117 miles later, when you finish, you're 7,000 feet above sea level running up a mountain the last like 20 miles of it. It's like, or that number may be wrong. I know it's somewhere in the teens and maybe 20s, low 20s miles. That last bit is up a mountain, which is like, holy crap. The last part of it's the hardest part. Running uphill is a nightmare.
I want to do one of those races. I want to do a 100-mile race.
Dude, that props to you. I'm not a distance runner. I've done it. I loved it, but
100 miles is hard.
Yeah, it's like the longest I think I've ever ran was 4.5 miles straight on a treadmill, and I thought when I stopped I was gonna fall off that machine, and I'm like, no way am I gonna run a full marathon, even a half marathon at this rate, much less a 100-mile ultra.
Yeah,
I'd have to train for 5 years, and by then I'm gonna be in my 50s. And I'm not saying I couldn't do it, but it's like years of playing sports, years.
Well, see, that's the beautiful thing about Goggins, though. That's the beautiful thing about Goggins is he just decides that he's going to do whatever it is that he chooses to do, and then he just goes and does it. Like that's one of the things that I find inspiring about him. Like, I'm not saying I have the fucking mentality of David Goggins, because that dude is one in amazingly mentally strong people.
He's probably 1 in 3 billion.
Yeah,
in this planet.
For sure.
There's probably
there's a few out there.
Yeah.
There's a few out there. I mean, I could name a few off the top of my head. Courtney DeWalter.
Yeah,
she's a current ultra marathoner. Cameron Haynes.
Yep.
Goggins. Nick Barr. He's the owner and CEO of BPN, which is Bear Performance Nutrition. I think he's based out of Austin, Texas. But he is an amazingly mentally strong person. He's very into the hybrid athlete training, like lift heavy, run far is his kind of motto.
Like Goggins and Haynes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Nick has been on Cameron Haynes' podcast. I think he went out there and did it. But yeah, man, it's going to take a lot to complete. I have coming up in like a month or so. I've got an ultra marathoner I'm going to have on here, and we're going to talk.
Oh wow, cool, man.
I believe she's done a 50-mile 50-miler. So I'm very interested to talk to her to get some tidbits of information that I might need. You know what I
Good
mean?
pair of shoes and a lot of training, man.
Uh,
And a team.
see, that's
Well, like, because I mean, every so
no,
many
you
miles, you're gonna have to hydrate and get something to eat or
absolutely,
whatever. And it's like
absolutely.
people forget that, like, oh, I'm just gonna run 50 miles. I'm like,
No,
no, you're not.
no, you're
Your
not.
body's gonna shut
Well,
down.
see, that. I think that's the thing people get confused on ultra marathons is they think it's only running. Like there's a lot of hiking in those.
Hmm.
There's a lot of walking as well. Like it's not all just running. You
Yeah.
know, I think that's people get that confused on there.
Well, like, I put out this page I follow on Instagram, and it was Memorial Day, and it said like best Memorial Day Army or military films, and GI Jane was one of them. Which anybody who served, especially anybody who went through SEAL training, even if they didn't make it, it's like that movie's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And the reason why is like one of them was they said, they show them like pulling out a garbage can and making them eat out of a garbage can. And it's like SEALs have never done that. It's like you're working so hard, training so hard, your body needs
the
sustenance,
nutrition.
nutrition. They are going to feed you real meals, big meals. All you can like buffets, breakfast, lunch, and dinner,
Yeah.
and maybe even a fourth meal later if you're doing through the Hell Week where you're
Well, that's
training
what I'm
for
saying.
6 days.
GI Jane really only showed like Hell Week type stuff. They
Yeah.
didn't show like Buds is like a 6-month long course.
Yeah, and like 3 months in is when Hell Week
Yeah.
starts. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, I sign up for the SEALs and then you go to the barracks and then they wake you up in the
And-
morning and,
and
then
Hell
you're
Week
trained.
starts.
No, it's 3 months in. They're
Yeah.
weeding out the stragglers who the first 3 months who ain't even gonna make it through Hell Week. And I've read several books by SEALs, Jocko,
Mhm.
of course, Goggins. What's that? The congressman out of Texas.
Dan Crenshaw.
Yeah, and
Arr.
yeah, Crenshaw. His book, I can't remember the name of it now, but good book. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he does, but I liked his book. And it was, they all said the same thing. And I use this mentality now. Like when you're going through Hell Week, and he said, they all said the people who, when you're starting on Monday morning, who are thinking about Friday, never make it. It's like, or the day, a few days ahead, they're thinking way forward.
And you
And
got to get through that minute that you're in.
yeah, and it's like, do this now. And then when you're done with this, do this now. And then when you're done with that, do this. It's like, just compartmentalize all of it. Like, get up in the morning, you got to go to the bathroom. Go to the bathroom. Then start your coffee. Let the dogs out. Don't try to do it all at once.
That's how you get overwhelmed.
Yeah, you get overwhelmed, you get frustrated. A lot of people, I'm like, dude, simplify it. Like, we learned this in pre-algebra in junior high or middle school. It's like they're telling you, big problem, break it down, do it one step at a time. It's the same concept. It's like, do it. What's most important that needs to be done right now?
hmm
Do that first, and then go to the next step. You get up in the morning. Oh my God, I have to pee. Go pee. The dogs can wait 45 seconds for you to take a leak and wash your hands, and then you can let them out. You let them out, they go do their business. You come in, you start your coffee or whatever your morning ritual
Yeah.
may be. Uh, that's kind of mine, but um,
Mine's very similar to that.
yeah, and it's like, what's most important first? Oh, I have to go to the bathroom. This is a pressing thing that needs to be done, or we're going to have a mess to clean up that is embarrassing. Do that first. It's like, then move on to the next thing. What's more, and they even say that in emergency situations. Jocko said that in his book, was it Extreme Ownership?
hmm
And he was referring to like he takes what he learned as a SEAL commander into real
Everyday
world
life.
business, whatever type mindset, and everything is going haywire around you, and you're supposed to be a leader. What do you do? How do you attack that? What's important first? What's the most extreme thing? What's going on? But here's the sit rep, sir. Blah 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 blah. You get that done. You. blah blah blah. You come with me. You do this. Blah blah. It's like give those people that are under your command a task and trust that they will do it.
Mhm. Well, that's
You have to give trust.
I've
Yeah.
heard people talk about like
Mhm.
emergency situations. Like if you're ever in a situation where there's a group of people around looking at somebody doing something, you don't say, "Hey, somebody call 911." You point at somebody and say, "You call 911.
You're
You go get me a towel. You go get me some water. You you do this." You don't ask people to do. You don't ask the group.
could you
You
please do this? Like,
you just point out and you
yeah,
say, "You do this.
where
You do
I'm
this."
actually trained for that as a first
Absolutely.
responder with my job. Won't go into that.
No, no need to
Please,
think about
yeah. But like asking please, but
it. No.
they that is exactly right. It's you are a first responder, or maybe not even a first responder, maybe just a civilian, and you somebody just passes out and drops and hits the ground. What do? People world star pull out their phone. You run in and you take over. You call 911. Turn that video off. Do it now. Okay, you call 911. Emergency services. Call them now. I need an IED. Go find one. Anybody have a first aid kit available anywhere near here? Go get it. Somebody.
Mhm.
I'm going to work with this guy
Mhm.
because I'm trained for this. I'm trying to do it all, but I am going to take over. I'm going to try to resuscitate
Yeah.
this person, check for a pulse. If there's no pulse or I can't feel one, I'm going to start doing CP. I'm going to start doing chest compressions and just keep that heart beating. He might be completely dead. I don't know.
Yeah.
You won't know till you get that electronic IED put on him, and then that'll tell you if there's a pulse or not. But if you keep that heart beating, pumping blood, you can save that person. They get to the hospital or the emergency services, and they can hook them up to the machine so where it's. But if you didn't do that, seconds matter, and that person could pass or whatever. But you're saving as long as that blood's pumping, you're keeping them alive. That's how it works. And I've even heard stories from people I used to work with, or even now that worked in medical in the military, where they were, and I shit you not, somebody with a bad battle wound and they were going. They then had lacerations or cuts or openings on their chest cavity, and they reached in there and grabbed their heart and pumped it with their bare hands
Wow.
and just kept pushing blood through their body to their brain so they're still technically alive.
Mhm.
The blood's pumping through them. I mean, a lot of other things could be failing, but those two are working, and that's what keeps them alive. Everything else can be done by a doctor, specialist, whatever. But that's the purpose. Like push that, pump that blood. They might have to jump start them with the IED, but if sometimes that happens, but you might be able to keep that person alive by just
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
they
You
say, if
definitely
you're
have to check.
CPR certified, the staying alive beat. And they always get it wrong in television and movies because they make it look like they're pumping down because you're gonna crack ribs. You're gonna hurt
Ra-
them, but it's
Rachel's ribs hurt from when I had to do it to her whenever she fell into her coma, man.
yeah.
Whenever she came home, she was like, "Oh, my ribs hurt." It's like she was there. She had this pain. It was like, "Yeah, sorry."
Giving you chest compression and keeping you
Sorry.
alive, honey.
And then big buff fireman came in and did it, and he was stronger than me. So
Oh, I mean, they tell you to push down 2 inches.
yeah,
It's an inch and a half to 2 inches,
yeah,
which is, I mean, you're in
a good bit
elbows locked, you're leaned over the top of them, and you're
pushing.
pushing your whole body on your whole top of your body is pushing
Yeah,
down.
you're not pushing with your arm.
Yeah,
You're pushing
you
with your
see it in
beam.
the movies. They're doing like
Well, that's
elbows and they're kind of like moving their head and whatever. And I'm like, wrong, but I get it. It's a movie, but it's like, dude, yeah, you're gonna might even hear ribs cracking. Like,
Mhm.
just keep going. And if you get tired, anybody else know CPR? Tell them to take over. Give yourself, catch your breath. Let them do it. until they get tired, then you jump back in, and you can rotate like that. And but it's keeping that person alive until emergency service show up.
And then they'll take charge of the situation,
Yeah,
and they've got the better equipment. Yeah.
they can do the compressions and even put them on machines that might either jumpstart their heart or keep their heart beating. I don't know if they have those where they send a
No,
charge where
they
it
do.
pops them.
They use it on Rachel in our living room. The paramedics carry them.
That's,
Defibrillator.
yeah,
Yeah.
defibrillator. What we call them the AEDs. Um, and whenever I go, and this is crazy, this is how my mind works. Anytime I walk into a place, restaurant, grocery store, whatever, I'm looking for those things.
Mhm.
Where's an AED? Where's a fire extinguisher? Where are my exits and entrances? Because that's what I'm trying to do. And uh, if there's ever an emergency and I need to react, I'm looking for that so I can help or find a way out. But hopefully I never have to ever go into a situation where I have to use my weapon. I will use it. I'm trained to use it, very well trained to use it. But my living nightmare would be the day I have to do it or use it. And there's a lot of things they miss. When people's like, "Oh man, if something bad happens, I got your back," and I'm like, "Are you willing to step over somebody bleeding out, screaming for help? Because if you're going to help, you try to help that person, and then that active shooter, sword wielding maniac comes around the corner. What are you going to do when you're trying to help that person? It's like, no, you got to go past him. You got to secure that area. You got to secure the building, the room, whatever you're in, and then you can help. But you have to get rid of the threat first, or you might be a statistic. It's like you literally have to tell that person to shut up as you're walking past. Because if they're screaming, "Help me, man, help me," what if that person's in the area and they hear it? Now they're moving towards you. And yeah, you're supposed to go towards that threat, but it's basically the element of surprise is your best asset at that point, is like catch the person off guard, go around corners. You know how to pie a corner, you know how to come into an area where it's a T section, the end of a hallway, and how are you supposed to check both corners? It's like we're trained for that. And even if the odds are stacked against you in a situation like that where you come to two directions and you have to pick one, and hopefully you pick the right one, because if you pick the wrong one, it might cost you your life.
Yeah.
But that's why you like to go in teams. Like if you're the only person, fine. But
There's more than one of you.
yeah, if there's several of you and you're like you've seen in movies and TV and real life, where a situation like that and you see a SWAT team coming in, there are several of them following each other into a room or to a building, into a area like that, because if the first person gets hit, whether it's uh, a mortal, or a bad hit where like they're not going to make it or they're dead before they hit the ground, or they just get popped and knocked over, you're the next person in, and you can't just, oh no, not going in. Those guys are going to push you in.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming in behind you. That's it. It's like you go in, maybe that threat, you got to go in fast. You got to go in and clear the room. And there's ways to do that with multiple people. And what happens in that situation, because you enter a room, there's blind corners. What if you enter a room and the door's in the middle of the room and there's two blind corners on each side? It's like you got to go in and clear, and next person's coming in literally less than a second behind you. clearing that other area, and then another person's coming straight in because this person's hiding behind an ottoman or a chair in there. That first person's going to come in. They're literally moving fast. That person pops up. That third person's coming in, or maybe hopefully the next person sees that movement and goes. And hopefully it's not a person just hiding.
Yeah.
Because if you just start opening up on them, you're
Yeah.
responsible for that.
That's why
And-
special forces train the way they do.
Yeah, it's like if you're an emergency responder, whether it be police, military, security, whatever, armed security, you're responsible for every bullet that you fire. If you miss and hit an innocent bystander, or if somebody surprises you, a civilian, a non-threat, and you
Accidentally shoot them.
shoot them, you're in deep trouble. You might not go to jail, but that person will definitely, if they're still alive, I'm not saying definitely, there's really good chance that that person or their next of kin comes after you with a civil suit, which they would be more than entitled to take you,
Yeah.
the cleaners over, because you failed at your job. And yeah, they'll take everything. You took them something from them, they're going to take everything from you. And hopefully you get the odds you get a decent person like, oh, you're just doing your job. That sucks. But that's
few
pretty
and far between,
slim. Pretty slim that happens. There's
especially in today's world.
yeah.
Everybody's a victim nowadays.
True.
And
True.
when someone is an actual victim, it's even more of a ambulance chasers or
Yes. Well, I
hey
mean,
man, we can.
oh, dude,
I'll be your lawyer.
if that happened to somebody close to you, spouse, parent, brother, sister, and your next of kin, even a cousin, these injury lawyers are going to be. It's going to be WW. It's going to be Saturday Night Slam Masters out in front of you in front yard. Them trying to get your door to take your case. They're going to be all over you.
They're going to play off your emotions, and because you're like you said, I mean, it's warranted that people might do that, because like you said, the person failed, they shot him, you know what I mean? And
it's like this person's trained, they train, and they fail.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to be accountable for this. And in a lot of cases, not most. If you work in the private sector, they're going to throw you to the wolves because they're protecting their business, their company. Understandable.
Because that makes
they might come after them too, but that company or whatever it may be, if they've got a big bankroll, they're going to drag that out for years.
Yeah.
Where the individual, it's like
can't afford that.
Yeah, they're done. Their goose is cooked. They're going to be hurting. They're going to be a mess financially for quite a while. And if they don't, a good lawyer might get that person to go to jail or at least brought up some sort of manslaughter type charges. You're not going to get any murder charges, I'm sure. No way. No good lawyer would ever even. That's what happened.
Well, I mean, that is the definition of manslaughter.
Yes. Well, like
the accidental killing of somebody.
Yeah.
Murder is you did it with intent.
Yes. Like the whole, what was that guy in Florida? Zimmerman? George Zimmerman.
Oh yeah, the one that killed that kid in the apartment complexes.
I don't know if it was in the apartment. He was walking down the street on a rainy night, and this kid was like, he went through this neighborhood to go to like a convenience store to get like candy or something. We're talking a teenage boy who was.
Didn't George Zimmerman follow him and pursue him?
Yes. He was part of the neighborhood watch. This guy was a gun-ho Zimmerman idiot. He was a moron. Stupid. Because he was on the phone with police, and police said, do not approach this person.
Mm-hmm.
Follow him, but do not talk to him. Do not approach him. We will do that. which is true. It's like, dude, if you see something like that going on out here, some person that looks suspicious or whatever, just call the police and let them do their job. It's their job to confront that person or talk to that person, whatever they need to do. This guy was part of a neighborhood watch. He was a bonehead idiot. He didn't listen to the police. He approached this kid and was really aggressive with him. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it came into fisticuffs. And George Zimmerman was armed and he ended up shooting this kid and killing him. Sad, horrible story for that child and his family. And it divided the country. A lot of people were, oh, he's a hero. No, he isn't. The guy's a freaking idiot. That was what I was thinking the whole time. And a lot of people are like, this kid needs justice. True. That was the whole trial by media thing. The media pressured the DA in that county or whatever that city was in Florida to go for first degree murder charges against George Zimmerman. And he was saying, there's no way that's going to happen. There's no way that's going to stick. That is impossible to prove in court. And if the best lawyers in the world, Johnny Cochran, couldn't get first degree murder on Zimmerman. Mm-hmm. But you know what? Since you guys won't back off and you keep threatening me if I don't, let's do it. Zimmerman got off. No charges. He walked.
Because they went for first degree murder instead of manslaughter charges.
Yeah, he said, I can get this guy on manslaughter. He'll do 25 years. I can nail this guy to the wall. His life is over. And no, first degree murder. Okay. He walked. And then they were really upset about it. Thought he failed at his job. And it was like, no, I didn't. You pressured me to try to get a charge on this guy that wasn't accurate. Mm-hmm. The only way he could have possibly proved it is like he wanted to confront this kid. He was going to kill this kid. He had planned to kill this kid, which is a first degree. There's no way, because there was conversations that were recorded by the police and talking to him, and it's like, oh, he stole something or from this convenience store and blah 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 blah, and it's like, but he didn't. There was nothing in that back and forth between Zimmerman and the police or 911 or whatever that said that it's like, I'm going to go and shoot this person because I just don't want him in my neighborhood. And
which was probably the case of what he was thinking.
Yeah, and that's what the media was pushing out. And that's not what happened.
But that's still not going to get somebody for murder.
No. If best lawyers in the world, they'd get a second degree murder. Yeah, definitely not first. First is like, this guy owes me money. That son of a bitch. I'm going to go over to his house and I'm going to wait. And when he comes home, when he gets out of his car, I'm going to blow his brains out. That's first degree murder. You intended to do it. You planned it. You went and did it. And even in this state and in most states, like where it can constitutional carry, if you're driving in your car, I tell my friends who are new to firearms, I'm like, and you have it in your vehicle, like unload it. Keep it unloaded and in your vehicle if you can, and keep the magazine
separate from the gun.
Separate from the gun, or the ammunition separate from the weapon. They're like, why? I said, because somebody cuts you off, you road rage. First degree murder, right there, those 3 steps, which can happen in a second. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, dude, that person cut you off, you got mad, and you're like, that's it. You grabbed your weapon, you loaded it, and you fired on this person. That's first degree murder in this state, and in probably most states. And it's like, and that was a second, 2 seconds, less than 20 seconds at the most. You thought about it, you loaded that weapon, and you're like, I'm going to kill this person. You're going to jail, dude, for a long time, rest of your life.
And people that might disagree with you about that point, hold on 1 second. I forgot to turn my sprinkler off.
Oh.
Yeah, it's going in the back. They're trying to grow the grass, man.
And what do you think,
Sam? It's been going for a while. You're not getting stuck out there. You know, hot. You don't need to be out there. Sorry.
Oh no, you're good.
Oh, it's right over going. I meant to turn it off before you go there.
So,
But
Frank would disagree.
people, I know some people I know might disagree with you as far as keeping your bullets separate from your gun. And the simple fact of the situation arises, not a road rage situation, but an actual real life situation where you need your weapon.
Yeah, somebody's coming after you.
Somebody's coming after you.
Yeah.
And they get to you, and then you don't have a bullet in your chamber, and they get the drop on you, whatever. Whatever it may be. Just the simple fact of keeping your bullets separate from your gun.
No, they have a good point because it happens fast.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's not like the movies, the Michael Bay slow explosion walking away crap. It's like, dude, it's fast. It's real fast, and it's loud, and it's deafening, and it's an attack on your senses. And when something like that happens, and your ability to react has to be milliseconds. And no, they have a good point there. Not gonna lie.
Now,
The situation, yeah.
But wait, hang on. But a majority of law-abiding citizens and gun owners that do carry, a majority of them, this is not everybody, but a majority of them are not quick to pull their gun. A majority of them will try to deter you. That's their last resort, is their gun.
That's
Which it should absolutely be. Because
that's what I'm trained for too.
Because if you're wrong, everything that we were just talking about, as far as courts and everything, will happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna go to jail if you're wrong. Like that's the risk you take by carrying a weapon.
Well, like I've talked to several lawyers in specific to that type of situation. Like somebody comes into your home to do bad things, rob you, whatever, hurt you or your loved ones. And you react and you hurt this person, kill this person, whatever it may be, because you thought this person was an active threat to your castle law.
Mm-hmm. Castle
doctrine, yeah. So you have a right to protect yourself, your loved ones, and your property with
as long as they cross that threshold.
Yes. And I hear this a lot where somebody comes in my house, and even if they're running out the door, I'll shoot them and drag them back in the house. And I'm like, dude, you're going to jail the rest of your life. It's like that person's leaving the scene. He's no longer a threat. You cannot shoot them. You can chase them, but I guarantee you, it's like you stop at that curb. That person jumps in a car and drives off.
No, you stop at your threshold. Man.
Yeah.
Because once you cross that I think there's so many feet, maybe in some states, that you can go beyond the threshold of your door. But there's a lot of places where if you pass that threshold of your door, then you're now you're the George Zimmerman. You're out looking for the instance.
Mm-hmm.
And then you become the criminal.
Like if that person's back is to you and leaving and escaping, like getting away from the situation they put themselves into, and now they're fleeing.
Yes.
The threat is eliminated. It's like you cannot. I mean, you can call the police and maybe even have your car and follow, but do not approach this person, the Zimmerman thing. It's like police are on their way, blah, blah, blah. Just tell us where they're going. But unless that person's running out the door and you're stop right there and they hands up, whatever. But if they turn and reach for something, now that's a slippery slope. Now I think about it, it's like let's not go in there because I don't want to give anybody false information. That would be more of a question for a lawyer. But going back to these lawyers I know, that I've talked to with my training and my licensing, uh, the only time you're allowed to attack somebody, their back turned, number one, they have to be in your home. And number two, like, say you're sleep on the couch, they come in, or do you have two bedrooms here?
Mhm.
Okay. And your spouse is in one room, you're in the next, whatever the situation may be. Maybe you're having
Are you talking about like you kind of come up behind them while they're in the act of doing something?
going into the room where there's a loved one in
Mhm.
and you're armed.
Okay.
You can absolutely use force on that
Defend
person.
your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. Defend that person. It could be child, spouse, whatever. Or vice versa. It could be Rachel in the other room and you in this room. And she comes out and he or she's going into that room.
Yeah.
And she decides to attack this person
Mhm.
with lethal force. And I'm getting into legal wording here.
Yes.
Here's another situation. This is what's going to happen. Like you,
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not lawyers.
no, we are not.
So just FYI.
Yeah. I'm just putting this info out, but this is very slippery.
I just wanted to say that.
Yes. Say that this person is attacked and injured, or maybe even possibly dead. Your next step is going to be, of course, to call emergency services 911.
Doesn't it become your duty
You have to.
to try and assist them? If
Yeah,
they're
yes, but you also have to make sure the threat's eliminated. Like if you hit them or whatever, attack them, lethal force, and they're not dead, you still have to secure the area, which is going to be unarm them and possibly even
handcuffed or
handcuff them or
tie them up,
tie them
something.
up somewhere to where they are no longer a threat to you or your loved ones, if possible. And then, if yeah, of course, first aid, render
Get
first aid, get some
emergency
towels,
services involved.
try to tend to the wounds or whatever, but definitely call emergency services. Here's a really, really important piece of information that I was told. When you call them, they're going to ask you about what happened. Say somebody came into your home, you did not know them, you trying to think legally how to say this correctly.
Yeah, because you can get yourself in a bind.
Yeah, every lawyer I've talked to about that, they said this right here will get you in a lot more trouble than you could possibly imagine. What you say over the phone where that's recorded. I always say somebody came into my home, they were a threat. I need an ambulance and I need police here immediately. This is my address. This is my name. But I need them here now. And when they show up, hopefully police show up first. Might be an ambulance is right down the
Yeah.
street. Or a fire department. Either way, they're probably all going to show up in just a few minutes. Do not, under any circumstances, say over the phone or to the police that you shot this person. Say they're injured, I need emergency services. Because a good lawyer can use those words against you because you are going to go to court no matter what. Because, and when the police show up, make sure that weapon is not in your hand and you're sitting out on the front porch with it. Because these police officers are going to show up.
Guns drawn.
The situation is there was an
Intruder
and an injury, possibly gunshot victim.
Yeah, they don't know what they're walking
There
into.
did no one ought to do. They gave an address and a name. They do not know you. unless you know the entire police force in your given town, which is probably the odds are not going to happen that way unless you work in law enforcement yourself. So they're coming into a situation hot, and their job is to secure the scene. They do not know if there's still an active threat in that house. So they're going to come in, maybe not with their guns in their hands, but ready. For a fight.
Absolutely.
And if you're sitting there on the porch smoking a cigarette, drinking a beer with a gun in your hand,
you're a threat.
That threat's gonna be eliminated by them very quickly. And so try to secure that weapon into an area where you're not in. And of course, that person that entered your home is no longer a threat. Because you don't want them getting up and going into that and using that weapon, obviously. So you need to secure it. And when the police take you downtown, which they are going to do, maybe in handcuffs, maybe not, they're going to take you and they're going to take that weapon down there with you. Do not talk to them without your lawyer present. Call your lawyer, speak to your lawyer, and let your lawyer do the talking. They will give a statement to police. Police already know. They're not stupid. They're going to be like, we already know that. You don't have to talk to us, but we still have to take you downtown. That's just what they're going to do.
It's their job.
That's their job.
And it's the lawyer's job to make sure that you are not fucked.
Yes, exactly. The legal part of it, leave that to the expert, which is the lawyers. And you're probably going to be home that night. It's going to be several hours after, of course, they secure the area, clear out the situation, clean it up, get whoever it was out of there. Make sure your loved ones who are still in the house are secured and good. Then they will leave, but they're going to gather all that evidence and everything. So there's going to be a case, and they have to report it, and that's their job, and they're going to have to do it and let the lawyer talk to them. They'll take their statement.
I think that's the most important part that people need to take into consideration.
Yeah, you
need a lawyer.
Yeah.
I don't care how smart you think you are.
Yeah.
You need a lawyer.
Yeah, because if you call like, man, motherfucker, come into my house and I shot that son of a bitch. Holy crap.
Guess
why did you say that?
The media is going to get a hold of that tape and they're going to play that and they're going to paint you as a bad guy.
Yeah, you're the bad guy. You're automatically the bad guy.
God forbid it's a different race than you, because then they're just going to paint you like a racist as well, which the media loves.
I don't want anybody to be in that situation you just mentioned. That can ruin people.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong. There are people out there that are like that, absolutely, but a majority of people, once again, are not.
And that's
and people are just defending their home.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and no, you're good. It goes back to that trial by media comment I made. It's like they're going to push an agenda, a narrative that's going to ruin your reputation. And no matter how much evidence or facts are put out there, that's going to be suppressed, and they're going to run with this because this right here gets ratings, and that's what they are focused on. They want people watching. Facts right here doesn't help this over here at all. And that's going back to the whole situation in Israel. You can give them facts. They're not going to listen because they want this. This is what they want. This is what they believe. This is their ideology, their tribe, their tribalism, which you mentioned earlier is like, oh, they belong to this. They belong to that's tribalism, that's ideology.
They're protecting us
from the
mailman already came. Probably
CrossFitter. Good for them.
Yeah, we have a CrossFit gym around the corner.
Right on.
They run down our street all the time.
A lot of people make fun of CrossFit till you actually have to do it.
Dude,
it's brutal.
And I've never been to CrossFit gyms are too expensive for me.
Yeah.
There's been many a times I've been, because a lot of my workouts are a lot of my workouts are CrossFit style workouts, I guess. Like kettlebell carries. I carry a log for a mile. I flip a semi tire for a mile.
Mhm.
Sometimes, like a lot of those are CrossFit style
Yeah,
workouts.
but those get results.
And
They're hell on your joints, but they get results. I can say out.
well, see,
Be honest with you.
I don't do all that. Mine aren't as harsh on my joints as theirs.
Yeah, it's like you can only do that's that's a workout for young people.
For sure.
Yeah,
For
it's
sure.
like, dude, if you're 16, want to get into that, so
I'd
you're
say
like
16
about
to 30.
Yeah, and then after that, your
But
joints can start breaking
I'm in
down.
my 40s. I don't need.
Yeah,
I already do hard enough workouts. I already put enough destruction on my body as it is.
hmm
I don't need to do
me too.
theirs.
Oh, dude,
But
that's your recovery time. I play. This is probably the first summer in since I turned 21 that I haven't played beer league softball.
mhm.
I miss it. I love it. But I remember when I was 21 to 26, 27, I go out, play 2 or 3 games in 95 to 105-degree temperatures and drink beer and water the whole time. The next day, I'm fine. Now I play one game, drink water the whole game, and then drink 3 or 4 beers after, and I'm paying for it for 4 days. It's like
How old are you now, Bill?
45,
45.
46 in September. So it's like, dude, and that difference, and I don't care what kind of shape you're in, pro athletes, you see pro athletes that are literal Spartans. I mean, these men and women are Greek gods when it comes to physical ability. When you hit 30, or I'll say this, when you hit 27 at that, you're playing at that level for the last 9, 10 years, or let's say college, like high school through college through pros. So for basically 15 to 20 years, you've been literally putting your body through hell. And I don't care if it's tennis to MMA
That's enough.
or rugby, whatever, the most brutal physical sports from, yeah, even women,
Yeah.
which is really low impact. It's still hard as hell because I did it in high school. Oh my God, that's hard. But like your body just breaks down. Your joints break down.
It gets
after a
older.
while. Yeah, and it's like you get older, and which baffles my mind why they signed LeBron for 2 years for what, $80 million or 100 million or something like that for 2 years. Like the dude's 39 years old.
He brings in money, man.
Yeah, it's it's just a money thing, but it's
He
like
brings in money.
that guy. Yeah, he's people want to see him. That's it. That's what they're paying for. That
More importantly, now people want to see him and his son play together.
yeah, which was done on purpose, which is a joke.
Yeah.
Because he got drafted in what, the first round, his son, and they literally like he's not LeBron. He's not even close physically, like to what.
I don't follow sports.
Well, he got signed in
I
the
don't follow
first
him brain,
round,
huh?
first or early second round by the Lakers.
It's the name.
Which, yes, and but the thing is like there's guys you sign in the first round, pro basketball, that are phenoms. He is not. He doesn't fit the criteria of. I mean, LeBron came right out of high school, and they were like, "This dude is the next Michael Jordan,"
And he
and
proved it.
and for all intents and purposes, they were pretty accurate. This dude is for the last
He's an
20
amazing
years
athlete.
has dang near dominated the sport of pro basketball. You can throw several other names in there, Kobe,
Yeah.
Curry, hell, Durant. I mean, those guys. But the thing is, everybody knew that. That's why they got in the first round. I was like, look at these guys. They're amazing. They're
Yeah.
great ball players. Holy crap, they're going to be amazing. We can develop them a little bit, even a little bit more. They're going to be some of the best players the NBA's ever seen in the last 50 years or 30 years, whatever it may be.
You don't think Bronny James is like that?
all the scouts said no, and like everybody's making fun of that pick. All the experts are like, why'd they do that? But I think, like you were saying, it's money. You get to see LeBron play with Bronny, his son, on the Lakers for 2 years. But the thing is, I guarantee, I don't guarantee this. I'm almost 100% when LeBron retires after the next 2 years, Bronny gets cut.
We'll see.
And unless he, over the next 2 years, they develop him into a fantastic ball player. And I'm not saying that's not possible.
I mean,
But the thing
he is
like,
he is a good player though. Maybe he's not his dad, but he is a good player.
nobody's been LeBron.
Well, I understand that. LeBron James is LeBron James.
Yeah.
But his son is good, though, correct?
He's good, but he's not first round pick.
Okay. Well, I mean, that very well may have just been a money thing, but over the
Yeah.
next 2 years playing with his dad and at the pro elite level,
Yeah, at that
He
elite
could
level,
develop.
he could he could develop into be a great ball player.
Yeah.
But and I don't pay too much attention to the NBA anymore because I just got worn slick with I think it's scripted, to be honest with you. It's just
oh, my wife has been screaming that about football for years, dude.
and like the referees calling these hanky panky fouls when the other team is doing really well, but they wanted to make it a closer game. So all of a sudden, the other team that's down by 18 points in the next 7 minutes go on a 25-0 run because of ticky-tacky calls. And I'm like, this is gambling, man. They're shaving points, and we've known that the NBA did that because that one guy, that referee, got busted and went to jail because he was gambling and shaving points because he was controlling games so the mob could make money. He was under the mob's thumb. And they were all making money. He was too. And when he got popped and arrested and all this and that, he says, "You think I'm the only one? You are sorely mistaken." He said, "This goes all the way to the top." We're talking,
It's money.
and he didn't say like
just like
what level, but he was pretty much pointing at the NBA commissioner like, this goes all the way to the top. And he didn't name names, but it's like it goes all the way down. And
it's like anything when it
might
comes about money, man, it gets fucking corrupt, dude.
Yeah, and here's another thing I can go on, and a lot of people disagree with me. I might make enemies on this, but I don't really care because this is what I believe, and this is opinion alert. Colin Kaepernick, who was a fantastic football player. He really was. The dude.
He was the quarterback for
the San Francisco 49ers. He took him the Super Bowl. Like his second year pro?
Okay.
The dude really was good. He had good coaching, he had good talent around him. And the next year, or several, I think it might have been a couple years after that. They didn't win the Super Bowl. They went Super Bowl against the Ravens. It was brother versus brother because both head coaches were brothers.
Okay.
It was Jim and John Harbaugh. Both great football
Enough.
coaches. Both great football coaches. They're back both in the pros now. Jim Harbaugh got fired from San Francisco, and he went.
What does this have to do with Colin?
Okay, going back to Colin Kaepernick. Yeah. Several years later, he took a knee during the national anthem.
I remember that.
And it started kind of a fad of a lot of athletes doing that across so many different sports, pro sports, and even international sports. And his protest, which was peaceful, by the way, which
it was about police brutality, correct?
Yes, police brutality, and I'm
gonna close the blinds real quick.
Yeah, you're good.
Enough, dogs. You're barking at nothing, aren't you? Aren't you? Love. Come on, go.
The wind blew.
Keep talking. Good luck here.
Oh no, you're good.
He took a knee.
He took a knee to raise awareness about police brutality and I want to say police reform, like the way they do things. Okay. That's cool. Now, I don't disagree with that. There were some areas that needed work.
Lots of areas.
Yes, exactly. And I think they took it the wrong direction with his protests when they were saying like defund them. That I disagreed with.
Is that when the defund the police thing started?
It was
I thought
around that
I thought that
time,
was more along after
George
George
Floyd.
Floyd.
That
When
might have
that
that
became,
might have amplified it. I still couldn't watch that video with that dude.
I can't either.
It
I
made me sick.
I do not understand how another person can treat another human being that way
Yeah.
with such discontent. Like it it sucks to see that, and it's
Oh, dude, it pissed me off. I was like, what the? I was mad, dude. I was as mad as those people out in the
and
streets.
all those people were yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not get
Yeah,
started.
but
Calling
so he did his protest. A lot of people didn't like it. At first, I didn't either. But then I was told something by one of my brothers who served. He said, dude, that's a right for him to protest. He has that right. And I'm like, holy crap.
absolutely.
Yeah, okay. So I started thinking that changed my mindset about protests. Uh, and now I say protests like that, peaceful protests, which is what he did, is paid for in American blood.
I would I would go as far as to say not only is it his right, it's also your duty
Yeah.
as an American when you see something that you disagree with to say something.
Yes.
Makes
And
sense?
yes, exactly. And most protests in this country throughout our history, of course, when they first came to light, a lot of people were against their protest. And that's true because psychologically, people, masses, fear change.
Mhm.
It's got to be a slow change. It can't be drastic. Like a lot of people, the civil rights movement protest, people disagreed with it. Turns out the people that disagreed with it were wrong because Martin Luther King was correct the whole time. And his protest was peaceful. That man believed in peace. He's like, no, we're going to fly these American flags. We're going to be peaceful about it. I don't care what we're faced up against. Do not fight back. He's like, we need to do it legally. We need to do it with our words, not our actions. Our actions are to march. I love Martin Luther King Jr. That dude was one of my heroes, man. He's awesome. His protest was to raise awareness of police brutality and police reform. And I don't disagree with that.
Wait,
His
Kaepernick or
Kaepernick.
Martin Luther King?
Kaepernick.
Okay.
His protest.
Okay.
Yeah, Martin Luther King's job
Yeah.
was
No. Okay.
it cost him his life, but his
The-
job was done. Yes.
The way you said it. sounded
Yeah,
like-
sorry.
It's all right.
Terrible wording. So
That's my job here.
yeah, okay. No, Kaepernick, after probably a week or two, when I started to realize epiphany, if you will, is like, yeah, his protest is justified. This is where people disagree with me, and this is what I'm going to go into next. When this was all going on, he's taking a knee, and a lot of other athletes are doing it too. Colin Kaepernick is still the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. He lost 10 games in a row, and he was cut after the season was over. I don't know if that was a contract thing, like his contract was up, and they're like, dude, you lost 10 games in a row. Adios. Uh, I like to think, opinion alert, he was a distraction in the locker room. He wasn't focused on winning games and focused on the team. He was focused on his protest, which he believed in and still believes in to this day. That can be a distraction when your job is to win football games. And I'm not saying he can use that as pro athlete status to bring other things to light, because a lot of celebrities, athletes do that. Cool. All right. Not all of it I agree with, but some of it, most of it I do, because usually it's a good thing. They're not going to jump on board with some Nazi crap. And if they are, yeah, they deserve to be cut and fired. He became a distraction, I believe, and lost 10 games in a row. And then after that, nobody would sign him. And he and several other people said it was a race thing. I can see that point too, but I don't believe that. I believe it comes down to the almighty dollar. When he was doing this, lots of people were turning the NFL games off,
especially
Sunday.
the 49er games.
Yeah.
No matter who they were playing.
Well, if they would see people kneeling for the national anthem, they're like, nope. And they would turn on something else. You're losing ratings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ratings equals what? Money.
Mm-hmm.
People, San Francisco 49er fans, were burning their jerseys and burning their season tickets and not buying the gear anymore, hats, shirts, whatever. Anything San Francisco 49er related. So now the franchise is losing
lots of revenue.
Millions of revenue. The NFL is losing millions, if not even the billions, because they're losing ratings over it. Well, if you run a business and somebody is losing money for your business, what do you do with them?
You get rid of them.
You get rid of them. You don't sign them. You don't keep them because they are not bringing revenue in. The only way to get revenue is to win games, in the NFL, or to be a tremendous athlete, and people tune in because they want to see, oh, look at this guy go, or girl, whatever the sport may be. That's what they want. It always comes down to me. I believe it always comes down to the almighty dollar. It's money. He's losing money for us. Get rid of him. I've seen players in multiple sports that were hyped up to be amazing and didn't do shit for the first couple of years they were in the pros. That didn't mean people tuned out, but he got criticized. He or she got criticized pretty harsh by the experts on ESPN or whatever, the sports talk podcasts or whatever, radios. And if they didn't work out, they'd get rid of that person. That didn't mean they were gone from the sport.
Yeah.
They were like, you're good. We're trading.
We're trading.
We're getting you,
we're getting a different player.
Yeah. Like when Tiger Woods, when he was cheating on his wife and all that stuff was coming out, he lost a lot of endorsements. This dude was making like $300 million a year in endorsements or something like that. He made $300 million over a amount of time. Or like $500 million of endorsements. Gatorade, Nike, you name it. This guy had his name on everything like Jordan and LeBron did. That came out, he lost a lot of that.
Well, I mean,
because they don't support that kind of behavior. And if they do, I'm not saying they do, but it's like, if you're doing that, don't make it public because you will lose that because children watch this. Young men and women watch this and they look up to these.
You become an example.
Yeah, and a hero to them, if you may, besides outside of their mother and father or whatever their role model might be in their own home. They see that and then they think that behavior is okay. Well, but their endorsers and their teams don't endorse that kind of behavior. They don't condone it. So they're going to be like, dude, clean up your act or you're gone. And so he didn't get re-signed and for years never got signed and still never got. And honestly, I think he was more focused on what he was his reform he was trying to get done, which is fine. But if you're more focused on that instead of being a pro athlete,
you lose your edge.
Yeah. And you lose that competitive edge. And even the NFL commissioner, Roger Goodell, I saw him in an interview, I think, after that season ended. I think it was through the next season that he still hadn't been signed. And it was like coming up training season before the next pro season. And they're asking him about it, and he goes, "Well, look at his Twitter feed." And they're like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "It's all about what he believes. But if you look at other NFL players' Twitter feed, it's all about them training and football and their families and stuff like that. It really has nothing to do with any kind of political issue. It's all about that." And then his is totally focused on this and not being a pro football player. He's like, "Who would sign?"
Mhm.
He's like, I mean, he didn't say I wouldn't, but he was like, what is his focus? It's like, does this guy want to be a football player or does he want to be a civil rights activist?
Mhm.
Because if he wants to be a civil rights activist, he's like,
There's no
power
place
to
for
him."
that.
Yeah. There is a place, but you need to focus more on winning football games.
I was gonna say his job is to win football.
Yeah. It's like if I go to my job and I start pushing my narrative instead of my company, my team, my focused on that, I'm not going to last long.
No.
That water cooler talk doesn't get you far in the corporate world if it doesn't involve business. It's if you're going to talk about that at work, keep it to a minimum. And working in the corporate world, which I do, politics, religion, sex type related stuff is very taboo. It's
Mhm.
very frowned upon.
Yeah.
It's like they're not saying don't mention it, but if that's we get complaints about it, it's gonna be it's not gonna be good for
I,
that person.
I
Yeah.
worked in a corporate office for a while, and my boisterous opinions were not.
Oh yeah. I've got too many, and everybody has a right to opinion. Some of mine are bullshit.
Yeah, but you know what? At work, it's work.
So Kaepernick, I thought it came down to money, but a lot of people didn't believe me. They said, "No, the NFL's racist," and I'm like, how could they possibly be racist when like 80% of the NFL is black athletes? Now, you can make that argument for coaching and upper management in the NFL,
I get into.
but I don't want to get into that either because I just
I
don't
don't.
want to. So, anyway, just a game of numbers.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It's corruption has become a leading factor in a lot of our society.
Yes.
Like, I was telling somebody one day that I think that the huge amount of mental disorders that we have
Mhm.
right now is a byproduct of greed, personally. Meaning that over the past 60 to 70 years since the Industrial Revolution, or longer than that, because the Industrial Revolution is like their 20s, 30s, somewhere around there.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
we'll just say 100 years to be
Mhm.
safe. So over the past 100 years, our mass manufacturing of food corporations have taken that over. It's
Mhm.
no longer family businesses that feed our population. I mean, there are family farmers out there and stuff, but they have to go by the corporations' regulations, i.e., uh, like for example, I want to say they now have to buy seeds every year because the seeds that they buy have been genetically modified to where even if they produce seeds, those seeds won't grow into something else. So they have to buy seeds every year, uh, which I think
Wow.
is weird.
I didn't know that.
Thanks, Bill
That's
Gates.
interesting. Yeah. Oh, Bill Gates, that's psycho.
And Bill Gates owns a lot of the farmland in this country now. But so over the past 100 years, companies have found ways to farm cheaper and faster and on a huger scale and by using chemicals, all kind of genetic modifications. And so we're now they put all the stuff into the plants and then we take it all home and we eat it. Those chemicals have got to get in our body somehow.
Oh yeah, there's
There,
actual scientific proof that it does.
yeah. And now here we are in 2024 where uh, kids, 13-year-old kids, have been on vacation their entire lives. They don't know a life without taking some sort of pill every day. Yeah, we'll get into him in a minute.
Yeah,
Uh,
starting
they
to sound like him, but no, I like what you're saying. Go
no, I mean, and
ahead.
honestly, and it's because of greed that these companies have done these things because they want to make bigger and bigger profits every year because they have shareholders and that they're beholden to. And it's just, and then you create the problem of the mental disorders. And then another corporation comes in and says, hey, we got a pill for that. Take this, take this,
And they're
take this.
all working together.
And,
I think.
and instead of solving the problem, they just add more and more issues because it's not like you take this pill and that goes away. No, it just treats your symptoms, you know,
Doesn't cure it.
doesn't cure it. I mean, if you go to a doctor nowadays, he's been trained by the pharmaceutical companies to sell you pills. You have a, oh, this is their problem. Oh, this is the pill for that. This is the pill for that. This is the pill for that. Like, uh, conversation with somebody the other day, and they went to the doctor recently, and the doctor didn't ask them about their stress level, what kind of stress they're dealing with, how they eat, how much they exercise. No, they just spent 5 minutes with them. It was like, oh, here's your prescription.
Have a nice
You
day.
need those pills. Have a good
You're
day.
gonna be on that the rest of your life,
Uh huh.
and it's not gonna cure your system. It's just gonna make you feel better for
Yeah,
several hours.
for a little while, but
Yeah.
it's not solving the problem. And I think that it would take a very, very long time, another 100 years to get us back right.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, because like
That
if
dip is
if you
hard
go
to
from
turn.
industrial farming to there's been people who talked about regenerative farming and how much healthier it is for not only us but the earth itself
And the animals on that
and the
farm.
animals on that farm and everything. Like switching everything from industrial farming back to regenerative farming is going to take a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, it's almost like
A
its
very
own.
long time.
It's almost like its own ecosystem.
Yes.
They all work
Yes.
together in unison. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I've heard about these farms.
Yeah. But why is it our leaders, the people who run this country, our congressmen, House of Representatives, even our president, why are they not talking about these actual solutions that might solve some of our actual problems instead of just, oh, we need to pump more money into this, we need more money over here, we need to send more money here. You said it comes down to the almighty dollar and greed, man.
It's like they're all being paid off by these corporations.
That's why lobbying pisses me off
Oh yeah,
because it's just another word for corruption.
it's literal like
You are bribing senators and
it's
House of Representatives,
it's
and
it's gangster shit. It's mob shit. That's literally what the mob did. That's what Capone did. They pay off the people so they look the other way. And it's like, let me do my thing. I'll give you a stipend every month, and you just go about your business. Go be a whatever you
go
do.
pass these
And
bills that help my business become
yeah,
bigger and make more money and whatnot. And then when you get out of that job, we'll give you a nice cushy job as this
yeah,
on our board over here.
yeah. It's like I'm gonna run this mob. Here's my mob. I do this. It's illegal. I give you a stipend. When you get out of that, you come over, you talk to me. I'll give you a spot over here in management and give you twice, three times what you're making doing that for the rest of your until you retire. And a lot of that happens like these folks that are like in charge of medical type stuff on a national level, like up there in DC,
like the
and
NIH and stuff.
yeah, and then when they get out of that, it's because they're appointed to it, and then when they get out of it, they get hired on by like the FDA and or these pharmaceutical companies or the CDC or stuff like that. So they pay them a lot of money. I'm talking millions of a year, not tens of millions, to just keep that train rolling down the track.
That's what I'm saying. Like President Obama travels around and he does speaking engagements and gets $500,000
Mhm.
for doing a speaking engagement.
And then talks about like, oh, we need to sacrifice more so less the people who don't have as much can have something. And it's like, dude, you have like $7 million, like multi-million-dollar homes all across the country or the world.
That's what I'm saying. You can't tell me that that's
It's like
money laundering. Like, because I mean, that's basically what it is. It's a bribe, but we're paying you to come talk.
well, like a friend of mine told me this. This blew my mind. I can't remember who. It's crazy. It's kind of like almost what Hunter Biden's doing right now. Like they buy up like paintings,
Oh yeah,
art,
yes. I've heard about
and
this.
and it might be a piece of art that's worth they paid $5,000 to $10,000 for. Chump change to these really really wealthy people, but then they insure it like it's a freaking Picasso for like 10 million, and then it gets lost or destroyed or stolen, and then they get a tenant like 10 million minus the 10,000 they paid for it, and it's just money in the bank to them. It's like literal money laundering, and it's illegal in the United States to do that. But it's like, isn't there some kind of, and I hate even saying this because I'm still libertarian, where they make another government entity. Why isn't there somebody who oversees this type of thing? Like if it's checking the accuracy of these paintings, this artwork, whatever it may be, this figurine.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, that's total bullshit. It's something you took off a bathroom at a Motel 6, and this is worth $5,000, and or this is worth $100,000, and it's something that Motel 6 paid like $8 for because they bought 600 of them. And it's something printed out in a factory somewhere. There's nobody going in behind them and saying if it's accurate or not. Like there's a page I follow on Instagram. It's called 1440 News. They pride themselves on being accurate or just regular news, nothing biased or whatever. Most of it's, or about half of it's just kind of silliness, but a lot, like everything they post is pretty accurate, and there's really no bias in it, but or agenda in it. They just like, here, this is what happened, And one of them, this was pretty funny. It said a Picasso painting that was hanging in a bathroom in like a museum somewhere turned out to be a fake.
Shocker.
Yeah, it's like that's probably what was hanging in a freaking bathroom. Whoever put that in there and said it was an actual Picasso in the first place, and why would you hang a Picasso in a bathroom?
You wouldn't.
No, do that. That thing would be behind glass that probably has oxygen, pure oxygen, or whatever kind of chemical at a light, small range pumped through it so it doesn't, the heat, humidity, or whatever in the air, I would say more humidity just in the area, doesn't affect the painting over time because those things do wear and weather if they're not taken care of. Yeah, and by experts who know how that stuff works. Like the real Mona Lisa isn't even hung at the Louvre.
Yeah,
That thing behind the glass is a
I've heard that's a
perfect
fake.
It's a painting that was done by a very, very good artist, not Da Vinci.
The real one is down below
Yeah, it's like down in some
basement.
safe that's probably got.
Honestly, the real one's probably in the Vatican.
It might be.
Vatican has everything, man.
Yeah,
They got the alien bodies too.
probably.
That's Da Vinci's artwork, alien bodies.
And Michelangelo's artwork, and he painted the Sistine Chapel.
I mean, it would not surprise me if the one that everybody goes to see is fake, like the one that the activists threw red soup on. Was it red soup they threw on it?
At the Louvre.
Somebody threw something on the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, they're throwing soup at paintings. I don't know what the purpose of that.
I think they were protesting global warming or something. I don't
global
know.
warming,
Which I don't know.
by
what that
attacking
painting-
artwork.
I don't know what that painting had to do with destroying your
Dude,
globe.
I think right before you all went over to England,
No, they messed up the Stonehenge.
Yeah, they were spraying it with spray paint or something, or some
That-
kind of powder.
That was what I thought was hilarious, is because they spray painted it to protest climate change, but yet you're using an aerosol can to project paint into the air.
Yeah,
Like,
on
dude.
Stonehenge, it's like 5,000 years old.
Yeah.
Like these people gave a fuck about global warming. Whoever put that up,
it was completely cleaned up by the time we got there. Like it wasn't.
I laughed so hard at those.
There were, however, people standing around. Just their job was to watch people that were there observing Stonehenge to make sure something like that didn't happen again. I think
It's like those people gluing themselves to a city street. It's like, dude, if you get hit by a car, I'm not even gonna feel sympathy. I'm gonna be like, what were you doing in the middle of the road? Here's another topic I've discussed. I've seen one video. I don't know if there's two videos of it or multiple instances where somebody in a truck or a vehicle was laying scratch on a pride flag that was painted on the road, like in some city. I think California.
you mean like a pride flag was painted on the road and then somebody drove over it and messed it up? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, it's on a city street that people travel on, but somebody went on it and purposely like just power braked and laid scratch across and which I thought was funny because I laugh at stupid shit. But a lot of the people who love that flag, and I have no issues with that flag. I'm gonna say that now. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. It's I stand by their right to have their rights to, yeah, all that stuff. I'm all for it. It's cool. My first instance just looking at it and the reaction was, oh, this person needs to be thrown in jail for a hate crime, this and that, and blah 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 blah. And I go and I'm looking, I'm like, why is that flag painted or why is it on the ground? Why is it on the road? Why would you do that? Why would you put it there? That's my only question. Is like, you would never see an American flag done that way. The American flag doesn't touch the ground. It's like, yeah, if you're taking that thing off your flagpole, it doesn't touch the ground. You fold it up, you put it away, or you take it down to, I guess, the Boy Scouts, or there's several other places they will, if it's torn or whatever, they discard of it, and they're the correct legal way to do it, which I'm not sure how that's done.
It's you burn it and bury it. You bury the ashes or something like that. There's a tradition on how you discard of it. I want to say it's you burn it and then you bury the ashes.
Yeah, and there's groups that will do that for nothing. You just bring it down to them and they'll handle the holes, which is fine, But that flag, the American flag, never touches the ground. Period. If it does, you're like, it's considered by a lot of patriots
disrespectful.
Yeah, it's disrespectful and very offensive. So
that's why when people stomp on the flags, it's very disrespectful.
Yeah. And when there are groups in this country that put that flag on the ground, wipe their feet on it, or burn it or wipe. I've seen them wipe their asses with it. Again, that's their right to protest. I might not agree with it, but that's still their right. I don't agree with it, but I'm just like, what can I do about it? That's their right to do it. Freedom of expression. Um, so I say to people who love that flag, hang it high. Don't put it on the ground. Be proud of it. Hang it up. Don't let it touch the ground.
Mm.
Treat it the same way you would the American flag.
That's a good point. I like that, Phil.
And
I like that.
so I mean, it's the pride flag. Pride. Be proud of it. Put it on the ground. That should be offensive to you, you know? And to me, I'm like, why would you? I don't want to put that flag on the ground. That's silly.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think it doesn't make any sense, but it's everywhere. They put it in crosswalks in certain cities. It's like people are walking on it, standing on it. It's under their feet, like it's beneath them. It's like you shouldn't do that. They're driving over it. They're walking over it. Like, to me, I think that's disrespectful to y'all. But y'all put it there.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. Hang it high. Be proud of it. Fly it. Hang it in your bedroom. Hang it in your office, your house, wherever. But don't let it touch the ground. If that's the flag that you love. And then when you see groups here and all around burning pride flags or doing the same thing they do the American flag, and they're hateful. I'm like, I use the same argument they would always say. I'm like, it's just a piece of cloth. And they're like, you're bad. And I'm like, that's what you say. And people right here in the United States burn the American flag. It's like just a piece of cloth. You got rid of the Confederate flag. It's just a piece of cloth. I don't stand for anything the rebel flag stood for. I don't believe a lot of the stuff that flag stood for, or most of it, or all of it. I'm not really sure because I've heard
There's different opinions.
different opinions like that. Yeah, that flag. Some people say it's just a Southern thing.
Well, once again, these far right, far left
Yes.
people, like if you have a far right person who doesn't like people because of the color of their skin, the Confederate flag may mean something to them than somebody who came from a family, because black people fought underneath the Confederate flag
Mhm.
in the Civil War. You know, maybe somebody
They were
who came,
conscripted. They
Yeah.
were forced into it because they were slaves. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
yeah.
absolutely, but it may it may mean something different to this side than it does to this side.
Mhm.
You know, like there's not just one meaning for. That's where like
It
gets
can be
kind of
skewed.
gray.
Yeah,
It can be skewed. Um,
I've also heard that, and this is also accurate. That actually wasn't the Confederate flag. Confederate flag looks more similar to like the Texas modern day Texas flag, like the star
okay.
with the red and the white, blue
Yeah.
star, the Lone Star State. Not the same, but similar.
Similar.
That rebel flag was a rally flag for the Confederates during battle because the Confederate flag, the real one, was very similar to the Union flag.
Mm,
So on the, what do they call that? The fog of war, men would get confused
couldn't tell
and
the
rally to the Union side instead
Oh.
of over to the rebel side where
Okay.
that stars and bars
Yeah.
was easier to differentiate from the Union flag, so they would head towards that. I've heard that too. I don't know if that's accurate,
That's what like there's
but
so many different interpretations of what
yeah,
the
and
symbolism of the flag means.
so, but generally, I don't like speaking in generalizations. It's a hate flag,
Mhm.
and I don't. But to me, I'm like, I don't really care. I just that flag meaning for what it stood for 150 years ago. That's gone. That's what I believe. There's some people that hold to that, unfortunately, to still to this day.
Yeah, but it's a small number of
Yeah.
people.
Oh, it's Yeah.
That's what when people talk about how racist America can be, I I think they forget the fact that not everybody here is fucking racist, man.
No.
Not a majority of people are not. A majority of people just want to live a good life. They're having a home to come home to,
Mhm.
dinner, spend time with their family, just like everybody.
Yeah.
You know,
They want a peaceful.
they don't care what you do in your house. They don't care who you sleep with. They don't care what color you are. You know,
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
we're all
I'm like,
freaking humans on this
yeah.
little blue marble that only a couple of us that can get off of, i.e., Elon Musk. You got to own a space company to leave this fucking rock.
Yeah.
Like,
And where are you gonna go?
and even he hasn't even left.
Yeah. And where are you gonna go?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, anything inhabitable is at this moment in time would take too long to travel to. It's millions of light years away, which or hundreds of light years away, which
You'll
is
you'll see people start to inhabit Mars in our lifetime, I think.
really.
I think so.
I think that'd be kind of neat.
I
I
think so.
think it's a waste. of money.
I think you'll see the beginning. But in order to become an intergalactic species, you have to have wavelengths. You can't
True.
just go from Earth all the way to galaxy XYZ over here. You know, you go from Earth to the moon.
Mhm.
You know, you go to a space station on the moon, and from there you jettison to Mars or something, or wherever. You know,
And then from there,
and then from there, like,
somewhere
yeah,
else.
maybe, but that's what I'm saying. Like maybe from Mars, then you get onto an intergalactic spaceship that takes you to galaxy XYZ. You don't just go straight from Earth. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
much easier to launch a large vessel from space than it is from Earth. Does that
that's
make
true.
sense?
Yeah, like so we get like some kind of station set
A
up
space station, yeah,
on the moon or on Mars,
a moon bay, yeah,
and that can
where there's no
manufacture,
gravity.
yeah, manufacture some kind of more vessels easier to get to that next point.
Absolutely,
Yeah, it's a good theory.
absolutely.
I like
But
that. That's brilliant.
But in order to get up there, you have to have your own space
Yeah,
company.
if you got it.
And you know what? Only about 4 people have one.
Yeah, and only one of them really works.
Yeah.
Ask
That
Boeing about that shit.
my favorite thing is NASA's been doing it for so long, and then Elon Musk SpaceX company came along. It's like, why don't we reuse these rockets instead of waste them? Let's figure out how to land them, you know? And that's why he ended up, I think that's why he ended up with the contract to work with NASA over Bezos and everything.
Well, you know why NASA failed?
Because it's a government entity.
Thank you. That was my point.
10,000.
Government.
You know, one of my favorite lines from a movie. You remember Independence Day?
Yeah.
Okay, so at the end, Jeff Goldblum's dad, whenever they're touring Roswell, and somebody asks where they got the money for all this, and he goes, "You don't really think they spend $10,000 on a toilet seat, do you? Like, come on, you know?"
Overbid it.
Yeah,
Take the extra money and put it elsewhere.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. That's no, that's
That's one of my favorite lines from a
what was
movie.
that actor's name? God bless him. He's so funny.
I can't think of his name.
What was that
off the top of
show,
my head.
Dear John? He was in like back in the 70s and 80s.
I don't.
Comedian.
Man, he's hilarious.
Dude, he's so funny. Oh, dude, it's him and Jeff Goldblum, brilliant.
Yeah.
But the so, yeah, government.
Let's fucking talk about them son of bitches for a minute.
Okay,
How do I want to start this?
fuck the government. I'll say that.
I am a person who truly believes it's never too late.
Yeah,
Okay.
mhm.
I think that we've been on this road where somewhere back in the day we started to take a left instead of going right, i.e., the corruption and nonsense, blah blah blah. someone has got to come along and start veering us back into the right direction.
Yeah, turn that ship.
And the way our political system is right now, people spend so much money getting all these people elected that they expect things in return when these people are in office. I'm not pointing out anybody specific. It's all of them. It's new. It's all of them. Republican, Democrat. I mean,
Independent.
independent.
Yeah.
There's corruptions across the board.
It's human nature.
Yeah, it's human nature. Whatever. I don't
People
think it's,
forget that.
I don't honestly think it's human nature. I think people just get freaking so far corrupted that they don't see.
Being honest only gets you so far.
Absolutely. But we need someone to come along and be that leader that we need. We need somebody to inspire this country to be great. Again, I hate to use the Trump slogan,
okay, yeah.
but we really do. I do not think Trump is that person. I do
No.
not think Biden is that person.
Definitely not.
Do like Kennedy. I
do too.
I think he's the right person at the wrong time because they're not going to let him win.
Of course not. They won't even give him Secret Service protection.
The cabal that I truly believe that there's a cabal of rich people,
Powerful,
rich and powerful people that decide the real things. You know,
Yeah.
Presidents have been puppets for years. Senators are puppets. House of
I
Representatives.
think after where you were saying where we lost our way, I think it was about the same time as the fallout after the Great Depression is kind of where it started. Like
I could see that.
where we started to come back, World War II era, like started.
Well, after World War II is when the military-industrial complex really started to boom.
Yes, and even Eisenhower warned us about that. It's a brilliant speech he made.
Brilliant.
He said, "This is not the way our country needs to go because it's going to make." Pretty much, he said in a really, really short way. He said, "This is going to turn your children's children into cannon fodder. It's just the way it's going to be, and it's going to be the only way it's going to be." And I don't
absolutely happen.
And Kennedy made an excellent point where he said, there is a way to fix that. And I don't know if you heard this interview or whatever. He said, we need to show our strength not through military. This is what he said next is kind of, I'll just say it.
Go ahead.
We need to show our strength the same way China did through our economy. And I'm not saying because China is a communist controlled government.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he meant that way, but their economy is insanely large.
What he meant was they have now become the world's largest economic developer because they export more than they import.
Yeah.
And that's what he meant by that we used to export more than we import. And now, because of corporations wanting to, make that profit every single month, they exported a lot of the jobs. This is one of the reasons why Detroit fell.
Mm-hmm.
They exported all those jobs overseas and started manufacturing cars cheaper.
It's cheaper to develop or to create or to.
It's much cheaper over there. Walmart is a great example.
Yep.
Walmart is one of the most corrupt companies in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 90s, we got to see some of it because that's when, Nike was getting in trouble for sweatshops and Walmart was getting in trouble for sweatshops overseas and whatnot. But Yeah, don't even get me started on the minerals that are in our cell phone, dude.
Hmm.
But because they wanted to, Americans like cheap prices, unfortunately. And the American public is willing to look that way for a cheap price as opposed to facing the issue and wanting to pay more for something for it being made here and properly and by someone who makes a decent wage
A
and
livable
a
wage.
livable wage. Like
It's like cobalt and lithium are literally mined by children in Africa. Women,
with
I've seen
babies
the
on
video,
their
babies on
backs
their back, newborns, while and
digging
they're digging
by hand.
in the pouring rain by
Well,
hand.
not
And if
not
they don't,
not
they
to
don't
mention
stop
the
working or
crap that
slow
they
down, they get beat.
not to mention the poisons that they breathe in and
Yeah.
stuff while they're working. Did
It's
you
like you thought coal was bad and black lung. It's like, look at those conditions.
did you see
They're
the
just as bad, if not worse. And their children doing it.
I don't remember the guy's name, but Joe Rogan had a man on there where he went to the Congo and
Mhm.
like got into those. And I watched
Oh,
that
it's horrible.
episode and I wanted to throw my phone out the window.
Yeah.
But it's amazing
And
how
this is,
attached we are to
and
little
this,
devices.
and these people pushing for electric everything, it's the same. It's coming from the same minds.
Yeah,
And electric cars, electric everything. And I'm like,
the
and
batteries.
they're like, if you drive a gas vehicle, you're a horrible person. And I'm like, well, what about what you're pushing? It's like to get oil out of the ground in the desert in Saudi Arabia, or even here or in Mexico, an adult has to do it and they're getting paid more money. But you don't want that. You want child labor to pull these minerals out of the ground. So we are forced to drive an electric car and forced to be reliant on the electric grid, which is controlled by government entities. It's like if a governor's like, shut it off, which they do in California, they do rolling blackouts every summer, they do it. And then you're at that mercy, and it's like, and they're forcing electric vehicles. You cannot buy an electric generator or a gas powered generator or lawnmower in California. Period. It's been outlawed.
Really?
Yes. It's like a
I've
gas powered generator, and it's like, well, what if your electricity gets cut off because they're doing rolling blackouts? You can't have a gas powered generator, fuel powered generator to keep your refrigerator running so your food doesn't go bad. They're like, no, no, you can't have it. And you're fine to have one.
That's Gavin Newsom, isn't it?
Of course, the Democrats' baby.
Man,
He's a Muppet deluxe. I'm surprised they haven't named him already to run for president instead of Biden. Because, dude, his ship is another $90 million was pulled funding for his campaign by celebrities and all these other support groups and businesses. Because not only the debates,
talking about Biden.
Biden, the debate, which was a disaster, which I only saw the highlights and laughed so hard at, because I won't watch that crap because 95% of what they're saying is lying anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was literally watching it to see his cognitive whatever, if he could even speak correctly, which he blew it completely out of the water. He bombed the crap out of that thing. But then he goes to the NATO summit and bombs even harder there. And now everybody's leaving. Like he called,
Zelensky.
he called him, and now we're Ukraine, President Putin, and just walks away. And they're like,
and then snaps back. I was like, no, wait.
no,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
saw
even
that.
remember what he
No,
said
he-
after that. I was like, and then he's maybe the day before he called his vice president Trump.
Trump.
It's like,
That's that's what
I'm like, dude, this guy is so lost. It's so embarrassing to be. It's like even watch. And now they're all like, oh, we knew this the whole time. And I'm like, I said this before he even became president. That guy can't complete a sentence without help. And that's what scared me the most. It wasn't his corruption. It was like, this guy is not making the decisions. He's not. He is literally he's about as useful as that statue. He's just a figurehead.
Mhm.
Everybody is behind the other side of that wall making all the decisions. The wizard behind the curtain. He is just a muppet, and that's all he is.
Which is not
And I think, and
what
people
people
think,
voted for.
yeah,
People did not vote for the people behind him to make the decisions. People voted for him to make the decisions.
of course, that's
You
what
know,
they
that's
should.
what.
That's what you should vote for.
Yeah, but to pretend like this conversation that we're having is a crazy conversation to have
Yeah,
about our president because he's the president is ridiculous because it is your duty as an American to stand up and say there's something not right about this situation and
yeah.
we need to remedy it.
Well, I mean,
I'm not saying that Trump is that remedy because I do not think that Trump is presidential at all. I think that he is a I'm going to rant about Trump.
go ahead.
I think that Trump is a spoiled 13-year-old rich boy who wants what he wants. He surrounds himself with yes men, which as a leader, I think is a
That's a disastrous. Yeah,
fault to no end because you should have at least one person that says, hey, bro, this is not a good idea. We need to step back and we need to rethink about this. And also, I think Trump is hilarious. I think he's fucking hilarious to watch, but that is not presidential.
no,
I think
he's
there is a certain amount of respect that a person needs to have for the office of the president of the United States does not have that respect because I don't care who is in the office, you represent every single man and woman that lives in this country,
Mhm.
whether they voted for you or not. You represent every single one of us when you speak. And when you
He doesn't represent us very well.
no,
Yeah,
he represents the rich people.
he represents the
He represents
arrogance
himself.
of arrogance of wealth and success.
Absolutely.
And when I say success, some people are like, he wasn't successful. It's like, of course he is. He's a billionaire. You don't become a billionaire
He
by being unsuccessful. That's
he is a
everything we
ruthless,
tried.
cutthroat businessman who has succeeded in business his entire life.
Mhm.
I mean, he was raised in by his father and his
And
grandfather. Like, I mean,
and he also like, and I've had people um say he's like, oh, he screwed a lot of people over. That's how he got rich. And I said, point at one billionaire, just name one,
that hasn't screwed somebody over.
and that hasn't stepped on toes on there that climb up to the top because
Now,
that's part of the business.
now I have to side with some of the people that say that he is a bit of a dick because I've watched quite a few documentaries on him where they interviewed people who have done contract work with them, and when they go to get paid, he's like, "I'm not paying you. What are you going to do? Sue me? I'll bury you in legal fees." You know, like
Yeah, I've heard that.
that's the kind
Yeah.
of shady business dealings that they're talking about when they say that. And once again,
Yes.
that is not the type of person that we want representing us on a world stage.
And that's, and I mean, as far as business goes, creating that kind of wealth. And this is, I'm not saying they do it the way Trump did it, but people create wealth like that by being frugal as fuck. That means they're not spending the money you think. And they're screwing over contractors like you say Trump did, which I haven't seen that, witness it, but I'm 99% sure that it did happen. That because that's what business people do. They
Look for loopholes.
at that level,
They look for loopholes.
and at that
Skip out
level,
on taxes.
yeah,
Yeah.
that level,
Go ahead.
yeah, they're definitely stomping all over people to do it. Well, here's a good example. Right here in the city, there was a restaurant on Northwest Highway, Feast or whatever,
Uh-huh.
like a
Yeah.
Vegas
There's a
style
buffet. Yeah.
And remember, it shut down for a little while. The people that owned it and ran it, can't remember their names. They were from China. They were legally here in the United States. I think they're American citizens, and they've been here 20 years or so. Been 20, 30, definitely a long time, long enough to be definite American citizens, whatever. And 6 or 7, I think 6 times before this place, they'd open a restaurant, they'd run it, they'd have all these people bringing food in, so they, whatever, like the trucks bringing in frozen food or goods they use to make whatever. And for like 2 years, they wouldn't pay any of these contractors bringing the stuff in, whether it be Benny Keith or whatever. Those places that literally just bring food to restaurants. That's their whole business. And they wouldn't pay them for years. And then when they like, that's it, we're not delivering you anymore. You owe us like $45,000, $60,000, whatever it is. They would skip. They just disappear. Show up somewhere else.
Open another restaurant.
Open another restaurant. All their money was tied to Chinese banks. So nothing inside the United States. The money they were getting to start these places in China, and the money was going back there.
Oh, so even if you were to pursue legal action, you couldn't touch their money.
Yeah, and then they'd skip. These people show up. What happened? They were even skimming their employees' pay.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise
me. And like the cooks and the whatever, they didn't have like waiters and waitresses. I think they had a bartender, but like you got your own food and whatever, and somebody would come by like a busboy and clean up your plates. I only went there once. Food was great, but and then I read about it in the paper. It was like a year later after it shut down, and they were like, "These people are notorious for this. This is what they do." They've owned like 3 restaurants here in the city, and it all happened all 3 times. And they just, when it came down, the heat's on them. They're gone. The house is empty. They moved overnight, and they're out somewhere else. And they show up somewhere else and open another restaurant with the money.
Shady, man.
And they do it. They run it for a few years, make a butt ton of profit, and they're gone again. To me, it's brilliant. It's like mob type stuff, but at the same time, it's like, how many people are getting screwed over?
A lot.
That work for you, try to make an honest living, and you're screwing them over. It's like, and even the big companies, the food delivery companies, the whatever, whether they be local, small, or national, you're screwing them over too. You're screwing over so many people in the long run. Just a few years, and we're talking hundreds, if not thousands, of people are losing money because of that when they're trying to make an honest dollar. That bugs me, but it's like, even if these people get popped and arrested and whatever, it's like, what are you gonna do? The money's not here.
Yeah.
Not even in this country.
Yeah.
And
you can't recover that.
Yeah. And it's like, and if they go to jail, you can't get any money from them. China's like, like there's 2 people. Yeah, I don't give a shit, but our government would do the same thing. We're over there in France doing that, and then France comes down on us. American government's gonna be like, throw them in jail. I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
I don't care. It's like they were screwing you over, not us. So yeah, do whatever you want with them. Throw them in jail for the next 20 years. I don't care.
Well, that's what we need to get. We need to. I truly believe that we need a leader, president, whatever that puts people over profit again. That makes the right decisions in the office, not makes decisions so they get reelected in 4 years. No, you need to spend the 4 years you're in office doing the right thing, and not in 2 years into your thing. Okay, we got to start worrying about reelection. No.
And their legacy.
No, shut the fuck up. You're the incumbent. Let the 4 years of you doing the right thing speak for your reelection campaign. Because when it's time to come reelection, that person who's fighting against you, yeah, they might talk crap or whatever. Uh, but you say, no, these are the things we've done in the past 4 years. And you know what? I didn't waste any time by getting donors and everything. I let my work speak for me, you
Mhm.
know? And I get so tired of seeing all these people, politicians across the board, that all
Pander.
they do is they talk crap about their opponent. Like they don't put real messages in their commercials that they put out to the people. They just talk crap about their opponent. And then their opponent talks crap about them. It's like, hey,
It's a smear campaign.
I'm the nicest, but yeah, it's a ridiculous thing that we've gotten into. But people enjoy drama. People are addicted to that drama. They love it.
Was it Don Henley, Dirty Laundry?
Yeah. But I mean, we've been conditioned to think this way.
Yeah.
The whole tribalism, you're taught from a child. You're taught from a small child. As soon as you hit elementary school, maybe even before, but as soon as you hit elementary school, you're the Cougars. Then you go into middle school, you're the Panthers. Then you go into high school, and you're the Vikings. And we're fighting against this team. We're better because we're the Vikings. We're better than them. Screw them. Blah blah blah.
We're better
Then
than
you go
the
to
Bears because we're the Vikings.
and then you go to
Yeah.
college and you're whatever college you are. And then you come out into the real world. And that's when you start picking you're a Democrat or you're a Republican because you've been trained to pick a side from the time you were a little infant. And then that's just what's natural to you. It seems normal. And it's not. It's
Where
not normal.
our brains are developed that way growing up. You're right. And it's
Well-
it's hard to unlearn that.
Well,
I've been trying to.
we've
It's tough.
tribalism had its purpose back in the day when we were hunter gatherers.
Mhm.
Because if you were in the tribe, you were most likely ostracized on your own, and you would die.
So, yeah,
So you wanted to be part of the tribe, which that in a turn for survival makes sense. But in modern day society, you don't have to be on one side or the other. You can still go buy your groceries down the street. Doesn't matter what side you're on. Nobody cares as long as you got pay for your groceries.
Yeah. pay for it. Yeah, you good. Here's your
But that's
salad, whatever.
we need to get back to a point where it's people over profit. And we've been taught for so long that profit, 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 make money, make money, make money. You can do this, you can do that. As long as you make money, you're successful. You know what?
Can I play the devil's advocate on that?
Go ahead.
People over profit can be taken wrong way. And I'm not saying what you're saying is incorrect.
No.
It's I believe that. It's really easy for somebody to go, that's communist. You know what I mean? Because they believe that was it during the Russian Revolution, there was the Bolsheviks and the serfs, and or the royalty, the was it Anastasia, whatever that family, I can't remember the name, escapes me. And there was people that owned property, the people that had things, owned a home, had a business, whatever. And then there was people that didn't really do much, didn't really contribute back, and they were jealous of this person owning anything. They rose up, took over that, and then that gave birth several years later down the line to like the Soviet type communist, whatever, Marxist Soviets, that, and they're, the people, we're all one. We're all, work together to blah, blah, blah. And that really quickly changed into a very, very horrible, resulted in the death of like almost 100 million people worldwide over the next 60, 70 years through Russia, China. Was it country? Was it Thailand? Not Thailand. Somewhere over there, Pol Pot, the Khmer Rouge, that communist movement where
I'm not
they,
familiar.
yeah, the killing fields, like 1.6 million people were slaughtered.
Yeah.
Because they didn't believe in what that movement Pol Pot, who was historically, considered, like a low level Hitler type, or
Mhm.
Stalin type, because he didn't slaughter as many people, but he still slaughtered like 1.3 to 1.6 million of his own people because they were either not contributing or didn't believe in what he was trying or their movement was trying to push, and they were just taken out, just wiped out. It's like you can even throw the ills up in North Korea, which have that family's been in power since the 40s. The Communist Party took over, and it's like it was the one that's in power now is like his grandfather, then his father, and then him. They believe that they are God or like some kind of Jesus Christ type level person.
Oh, like appointed by God kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like their book.
We're the royal.
I mean, communism's been tried so many times in this world, or socialism, whatever, some level of socialism.
I don't mean socialism.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you're thinking. Like
What? Let me read.
like put people like we could in this country take care of homelessness. We could take care of everybody, but we are so focused on everybody else, and like you said, record profits when um, if we took those funds and put it towards something like homelessness or um, I would say homelessness or drug infrastructure and drug related like people who are addicts,
Rehabilitation type.
yeah, rehabilitation types of, that could all be cured literally with the money we sent to Ukraine over the last 3 years or 2 years, all of that. But we're not focused on ourselves, or our leaders are not focused on Americans. They're focused on everybody else looking good, their legacy.
Well, see, that's
Pride.
that's what I mean by people over profit. Is
Mhm.
our leaders need to quit making decisions based on profit.
Oh
They
yeah,
need to make decisions based on what's best for the people. That's
Yes.
what I mean by
Yes.
people over
I
profit.
agree that.
I don't mean in a socialist society. I mean, we have some socialist type stuff, like we all pay into the fire department. They
Yeah,
put our fires
we
out.
have
get
social. We have
fires,
social
police and blah blah blah.
socialist types
But
that keep that education,
Mhm.
roads, police, fire, emergency service. All that is set up like a socialist type. Um, yeah,
but
I
if
don't know the words. Yeah,
that's
you're
what I
exactly
mean by
right.
people over profit is we need to start making decisions based on what's best for the people and not what's best for the profit of
Corporation.
corporations, because we're more and more every decade slowly becoming the United Corporations of America. Not
Oh, you said there's never too late to turn that shit, right? Like you were saying.
I truly believe that it's never
That
too late.
what you just
Yes.
said, like the corporation level. It's like that's a great example of what you just said when you're saying steer that ship. It's like we got to get corporation and government separate.
Absolutely.
That would definitely turn that ship. I think that's the first step. There's a lot of other things, but that would probably be one of the bigger steps.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. I believe that wholeheartedly. What you just did, do. Yeah, you separate those two because remember that merger was not too long ago, like in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, "This is what we want because it'll make everything better." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? That's literal communism. What just happened?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" I said, "In a socialist or democratic socialist or communist type setup, the government controls the industry, which would be what? Corporations, big corporations, all the big business. They're involved in it. We voted for that, thinking it would correct things. And what you did And what I believe is like that's going to make things way worse. It's
We
going to
were
mean
duped.
record profits. We were duped. It's like the Patriot Act. Oh, we're all scared after 9/11.
They took advantage of that.
Yeah.
They took advantage of our emotions,
Mhm.
and they still do it.
And this is
That's why they all need to be fired.
and yeah, oh yeah, you're right. Any brilliant leader, sadistic, whatever it may be, is going to, and this is historic, and I'm sure you heard it. It's like you never let a good crisis go to waste.
Hillary Clinton.
Yes, it's
I
like,
have heard
but
her say that
that
so many times.
that is literally historic. Like that's how Hitler came to power. The Treaty of Versailles was disastrous for the country of Germany. It destroyed that country after World War I. Even Churchill, who was not like prime minister, was it Neville Chamberlain,
Maybe.
who was
Sounds-
before him, like after like during World War One, after World War One, like France, United States, several other countries, and England signed that Treaty of Versailles, which ended the war, but it literally crippled Germany and destroyed their whole industry, their whole country. People were starving. The what's their dollar over there? The
It's the euro now.
euro. Well, man, back then it
They
was
they
something
they both
else.
they that
It
that's a
destroyed the value of their money. It was worth pennies on the dollar, if that. Everything went to shit in Germany because of this treaty, because they had to pay the world back like $8 billion. Nothing in the world was worth that much at that time. And after the war, because of reparations from the war, or whatever, it destroyed them.
reason.
Winston Churchill said, "This is disastrous. This is going to get us into another world war. We need to rethink this." And no, Matt, get out of here. Whatever. It's already done. Okay. What was it? That 1918, Hitler was in power less than 15 years later. Like 1933, became like leader of Germany, the Nazi Party. It gave rise to that kind of that crisis gave birth to one of the most horrible people imaginable and throughout human history, like especially modern human history. He literally was saying same a lot of things politicians now. We're going to bring this country back to where it used to be as a world power and strong. We believe in our people. We love our people. We're going to bring them all back here and make us powerful again. And that's exactly what he was saying. And everybody's like, oh, he was a nationalist. I'm like, every president that's been a president in this country was a nationalist. You can't say that because if they're thinking of everybody else with themselves, they would never become president. If there's like, screw America, I'm more worried about Mexico and Canada. I mean, you should be because they're border us, but it's like not on a threat level. But if like I want to build them up and not us, I want to build everybody else up but us. They're never going to say that because they would never get voted in. But that's what they do once they get in there. But he was all like, pretty much, I'm going to make Germany great again.
Yeah.
And he did. Their industry was insane. And I'm not saying he's a good person. No, I'm not saying that. Fuck Hitler. I'll say that. But he turned that country around to make from literally like United States.
The shambles.
That was the Great Depression era. But imagine that, but even the people up top had no money.
Mm-hmm.
It was gone. And he had to have somebody to blame for it, for their troubles. And even before the war and during the war and after the war, a lot of the banks in Germany were owned by Jewish families. They're the problem. Get them. And let's rebuild our country. And he did that, not necessarily getting rid of them first. He was rebuilding first. And then they expanded. Like, I'm going to bring back what Germany was, take the parts of the country back we had to give up after the war. We took parts of Austria back, parts of Poland back, parts of a lot of the surrounding countries except France. And through treaties, and then he invaded Poland. But he's like, there's more German people living here in Austria than Austrians. And this was originally Deutschland anyway, so we're going to take this back. He took that back, and people loved it. They're like, yeah, we're becoming strong and bigger, and blah, blah, blah. And he made a treaty with Stalin, which he knew was the biggest threat to him in that part of the world. And he said, hey, if I take Poland, I'll only go halfway. I'm going to stop to where our old lines were, Germany, and I'll give you the other half. And I'll do all the fighting. You just take the spoils.
Which sounds like a good deal.
Yeah, to Stalin, it was a great deal. He's appeasing him
Yeah.
because he knew it's like at that point, it's like if we push that far close to Russia, Stalin's going to flip his shit and he is going to attack us. We cannot fight him off right now. This is pretty early, in 39, and I forget what 38, 39, he takes that. Declares war on Poland, takes half of it really quickly, several months it was over, and gives the other half to Russia. Because he had developed his people, power, the military, developed a whole new way to fight a war. Because we're, used to standing there or trench warfare. Now it comes this blitzkrieg, like an all-out roll tanks, planes, everybody in on them, and just
Destroy.
lay waste to everything till they quit. Overpower them with just might. Look at that! Oh my God! There's 1,000 planes up there and 1,000 tanks and 20,000 men marching towards us, all armed and killing everything in their path.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. How do you fight against that? That's what he was doing, and it worked for a while. But yeah, then he, started rounding up people he didn't like, and and clearing the ethnic cleansing, which is what madmen do.
That's
And
what's some of the most dangerous words that I've heard recently is like our presidential candidates are talking about how if the other side wins, it's going to be a threat to democracy. They're using that, but they're using that in a way that is very similar to what we've seen in the past,
yeah, like
where you rally your people against the other people, and then there's that. That's why, like, I'm sure you've heard of people talk about the threat of civil war recently, like, and I don't by any means think that either candidate, Democratic or Republican candidate, whichever one wins in this upcoming election, is going to be the end of the United States. Like, I think it's a step back. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's going to end us. And
no,
but the way they're talking, because I really don't think either side, whoever wins, they're gonna it was corruption in the voting levels, and they're gonna blame the other.
they got to blame something.
Yeah,
They're not going to blame
instead of
themselves.
instead of just conceding the election, like, okay, we lost, you won, congratulations. Now,
That's a rare occurrence.
but see,
Yeah.
that's how our government should work.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to work.
The last president to do that, this is crazy. People think I'm nuts. It's Clinton. Like literally when George Sr. lost to him running for a second term, lost to Clinton, what, 92. He was literally like, hey man, do a good job. But, the American people are counting on you. Obama said that, like, left the note
For Trump.
Trump. George W. Bush did it, left the note for Obama.
You know what Trump didn't do when Biden won? He didn't show up.
Yeah.
He didn't. And that's
that looks bad on him.
that's another
really
thing.
bad.
Like, you are not presidential.
Exactly.
You are a spoiled child.
You know who was presidential? I hate saying this. Obama was very presidential.
Obama was very good at being
very presidential. He was very clean cut. He spoke well. He presented well. He didn't seem,
Mhm.
lose his shit. He didn't. He was very. He was a great. He was a muppet, but he was a good one.
Mhm.
And he was.
That's what like
Yeah, he was. I'm like, God, this guy can talk.
that's what don't get me
You
wrong.
want to believe him?
I don't like Gavin Newsom.
Yeah,
That dude can talk.
yeah. He's a great leader.
He doesn't really say anything of substance.
Wait,
I
I
I
said a great leader. He's not. He's a great speaker.
yes. I like to refer to him as a car salesman.
Oh yeah,
He's a really good car salesman.
he's a
If you
he's
show
a
up on
snake
his
oil
lot,
salesman.
you're gonna drive away with something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Good, or they always say the snake oil salesman.
yeah.
He's very. Oh yeah, I got you, man. Hey man,
Hey,
come on,
this is gonna cure all your ills.
I'll fix it for you. Don't worry about it. Yeah, I got this. Or my name isn't Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
They Clinton, I would say, was presidential, except for he was just a freaking damn freaking horn dog. Fuck everything that came into his office, which just looks bad. That's a stain on his legacy.
But you know what? Had he told the truth at the beginning of that, it would not have become what it became.
Mhm.
You know
Yeah,
what I
he's
mean?
been like,
Had he
yeah.
have told the truth, I made a mistake. I did have sexual.
Hey,
If he
what do you
would've-
what do people who think they're infallible never do?
What?
Never admit they did anything. They never will. Like
Deny,
deny everything. Deny it all, even though the facts are right there and the video and you saying it. Nope, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. I am. I mean, they like that comes with the whole like you were saying. You surround yourself with yes men. Nobody in that your cabinet or whatever you want to say it, that circle will ever uh, speak out against anything you say or do
Mhm.
out of fear of retribution from that person, whether they fire them or worse.
Mhm.
So when you sit there in that echo chamber for so long, that even, and this goes from the highest level of power to the 13-year-old schoolgirl, whatever, you sit there and you bubble wrap yourself in that, you know, I will not tolerate somebody who disagrees with me. And even at a young age, parents can be responsible for that. It's like and you see that now, like a lot of people, you push back or disagree with them, they become emotional freaking explosions, wrecks. They
Yes.
scream and they lose their shit. And it's because they do not know how to react to somebody
Who disagrees?
disagrees with them. And when I say that, that is really, really bad to do that to a child. It's almost abusive or anybody, even the highest level. It's like you said, have somebody who is going to push back, disagree with you, give you a different opinion. You said one person. If I had 20 people, I would make 10 that were on one side, 10 on the other. I'm not saying far left or far right. Is like, no, I want you to tell me what you think would be the short term or long term things that would go wrong with this. Or they're saying this is good. I want to know. I'm not going to fire you. I need to know
Yeah.
because then we can try to correct this. We can come to something in the middle and be like, oh, okay, we're not going to do that. Oh, this sounds good. Yeah, well, let's see if we can incorporate that in. That's what a good leader does. You want that feedback. The phrase I always use is like, you need to keep your mind sharp. You can't do that by bubble wrapping yourself.
No.
Um, and the only way to keep your mind sharp is like, how do you sharpen a knife? You push it against a stone. It's the only way to stay sharp. Is like something that's just as harsh, just as hard, just as you have to have people you disagree with or disagree with your opinion or what you're doing or whatever it may be, and try to understand where they're coming from. Like, listen, don't discuss to respond, discuss to listen to the point they're trying to make and try to understand it. But they have to have that same mentality where they need to understand your beliefs and your opinions and what you believe. And if they can't and they just talk over you, yell at you, respond, but they're not actually listening, that's that's a lot.
Frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating, and it's a lot of what's wrong with our society because people have already made up their minds. I don't like Trump because he cheated on his wife and he's a bad, done a lot of shitty business deals and he's a felon. And I'm like, well, I can say this about Biden. And they're, well, there's no proof of that. And I'm like, no, there is proof. This is just being pushed down. It's being
Or that is you don't want to
you
accept
don't want to accept the fact that
because
your guy isn't any better. He's not. He might be a better husband, but than Trump because he cheated on his wife. He's been married what 3 or 4 times. Biden, I think his first marriage didn't work out, but that was like 30, 40, 50 years ago or something.
yeah, and I believe she died.
Or passed
Yeah.
away, and like his wife now he's been with for decades. And
Dr. Jill.
yeah,
Biden.
and I'm like, well, I mean, there's nobody said anything that he cheated on his wife or anything, and if there is, it's been very low level, like Bill Clinton, and couch bombing, man. That dude just could not keep his dick in his pants. It's like, but
Sexy saxophone player that he was.
Slick Willie.
Slick Willie.
Yeah. That dude, yeah. And, went to, was it Epstein Island like
Oh, yeah.
20 something times. I don't know the exact number.
I heard somebody when you were, you had said earlier, like, you think I'm the only one, you're gravely mistaken. Like, so people have said about Epstein Island. You think that's the only island? Like,
Oh, yeah, dude. You know how many freaking islands there are on this
I'm
planet?
sure there's.
Yeah, there's that
I think
people don't go to because they're not
Man.
allowed to.
I heard somebody talking one day, and I don't remember who it was, but they were talking about how slavery is more relevant today in our current society than it's ever been in the past. Between
Sexual slavery,
from child slaves to adult sex slaves to teenage to people working in the Congo to mine the cobalt and the minerals and everything. Just people take advantage of people wherever they can, and it's.
Well, when I went, my wife's from Texas. We go down there quite often, probably 4 to 7 times a year. Not like we're going all the way to South Texas, just, so it's like 3 to 4 hours from here to where we go, Texas. And every time I go down, and once I cross that Red River, I have to turn my emergency ambulance off because it goes off every 4. And it's always something down by the border.
Wow, really?
Yeah. And they're saying, and experts are saying, but when these people are bringing these children across, they say, oh, yeah, I'm going to bring them to their parents. They don't. These kids are being sold into sex slavery across the planet, across the world, across our country. Thousands a week. And probably hundreds of thousands over the last several years during Biden's administration, because when Trump's administration, one of his first things he did when he first came into office, he said the border is a crisis. And when a president says that, boom, funds start going towards that crisis. Putting the wall up, the Border Patrol and those agencies down there had boats, had planes, had all kinds of equipment to get the job done. Biden, I think, in the first week shut that all off. Like literally, he's like, nope, open the border. And when Biden mumbled out that the Border Patrol has always supported him. And literally minutes after that, they tweeted, "We have never once supported Biden ever." That is a lie. It's like because he literally cut like 70% of their funding day one. And then all this started happening, and people know it. I have friends who work in law enforcement right here, and they say they've pulled people over, vehicle, suburban, big passenger van, 30 kids in it. Kids from like age 3 to like 11. One guy driving. Oh, yeah, these are my nieces and nephews. There's nothing they can do because if they take them in, say it's 8 o'clock in the morning, by noon, they're going to be back in the road in the vehicle. They know they're coyotes. They know they're bringing these kids in to do whatever. And there's nothing they can do about it because the federal government has literally said, we don't give a shit. It's done. It's been launched. And it's like, there's nothing we can do about it. We can't. It's like, yeah, I'm bringing these kids to their parents. No, we're not. Parents aren't even here. And if they are, they're not going to see their kids again. They're going to be doing whatever they want. I mean, whatever they do with them, they do with them. Of those 30 kids, maybe one or two of them might see their parents again.
It's disgusting.
It's disgusting. And our president and our federal government at the time is allowing. And I'll say that. And, you know, there's people that are like, why aren't we doing something about this? It's like, well, our federal government and our president does not give a shit about it. When it was a problem, Trump was trying to handle it, deal with it, and it was getting done. And literally 4 years later, it was all cut off, shut down day one. And that to me is like, and now we all know about it. News is talking about it, and they're still like the Biden administration, like, yeah, whatever. They're like, no, that's bullshit. They're just like, I don't care. They're all the way up in D.C., 2,000 miles away from the Mexican border. They're not coming up there. Why do you think those governors were shipping them up there? This is the problem. Look, now it's in your front yard.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was funny.
Petty, but funny.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
I felt bad for the people that were being shipped up there.
Because they're being pawns.
Yeah, they're pawns, and that sucks. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, you're ignoring it because you don't have to deal with it.
I'm sure a lot of those people coming to the border just want a better life.
Yeah.
But there are, unfortunately, people that will take advantage of the system that have intent.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
And those people, criminals crossing the border, right along with everyday mothers and fathers that just want to have a better life. And I truly believe that borders are stupid. Hear me out real quick. I think that you should be able to go anywhere on this planet that you want. You're a human being. We're all human beings, and we all can't leave this rock. When you look at the Earth from space, you do not see lines. You just see land. And it's all of ours. Now, we have borders for specific reasons because people start wars and whatnot, and I understand
human
that.
corruption
and
coming back.
Yeah. And I understand that, and I get that. I get the point of borders. But one of the pros of the Trump administration of his 4 years is when people would come to the border and get caught, instead of what's currently happening, instead of being given a bus ticket somewhere and money and a phone and a free place to stay in this hotel in LA, wherever they go, instead of that, they were put back on the Mexican side and told to wait on this side until your court date, instead of wait on the American side, which is what's going on right now.
And they're not going to show.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Why would they show up?
But if you have these people that come to the border and get told they have to wait in Mexico, they're not telling their homies to come along, Mm-hmm. But with our current administration, when they get caught, they're given a bus ticket and money and a phone and sent to wherever city they might want to go So they're telling all their homies, "Hey man, come to the border, dude. They'll give you money. They'll give you a bus ticket. Which is
On our
causing
tax dollars.
on our tax dollars, which is causing a huge influx of immigration, illegal immigration. You know, and like I said, a lot of those people are just wanting a better life, and I commend those people for trying to get wherever they
Yeah,
want
I'm
to
not
get.
against him.
However they get there, I get it. You want a better life. It's better than where you came from. I completely understand. But unfortunately, bad people are also taking advantage of that.
And they're going to take advantage of those people trying to come up here. They're going to be like, oh, no.
Here, I'll take your kid. I'll get your kid across the border with me. And then when you get across, we'll meet up, blah, blah, blah. And then they sell their kid into slavery like you're talking about,
Well, not even that. The cartels is
Oh.
much worse.
I've heard the cartels use wristbands now.
They
like color-coded wristbands for what you paid for and how far you can get.
So these people who are wanting a better life, they have to pay these cartels to get to the border and then even cross it. And if they don't, they're killed. And they're taking advantage of that situation too. It's like, oh, it's free. No, it ain't. Bullshit. You're gonna pay us, so we're gonna murder your whole family or kill one of your. It's like it's bullshit. And like, or you're gonna try to bring this whatever across with you that we're gonna put on you, or we're going to hurt you or kill you. And I've heard stories where the border patrol, these people are coming across the river illegally, groups. A lot of them with children, young infants, babies, and cartel members, which are blended in with them. The border patrol is looking for them. They know who to look for. Usually adult males, or 15, age 15 to whatever. Older.
Yeah.
And what they'll be carrying the children, usually the taller ones, but they can get them across the river, right? And they're about to get pinched. Border patrol's waiting for them.
They drop the baby.
They throw the baby in the water. What's the border patrol going to do? They're going to get that baby,
kid.
And then they get in. Their mules get in too. It's like, of course they're going to do that because that's our culture. Save the kid, save the child. God save the children. We're taught that way. They're the ones that women and children are exploited. They're because big, strong men can take advantage of them, with physical whatever.
And then a good man is going to save.
A good man, is going to, that's like our instinct to save the kid,
protect her.
Yeah, to protect, and they take advantage of that too. And to me, that's scary shit. It's like that they would do that. They're like, and but they're probably under a microscope by their own cartels. Like, you don't get these people across, we're going to kill your family.
Yeah,
it's all just ruled through fear. And it's scary. And it's like there's a lot of that could stop if we would just vet the people coming through. Families. Oh yeah, this is my wife, my daughter, my son, whatever. We're okay. Let's get their names, write them down, whatever. Work visa for 3 years, stuff like that. And then blah blah blah. I'm not against immigration at all. I think to shut down the borders completely is fucked up.
It's one of the ways this country was founded, was immigration.
Yeah, exactly. And I could never. Somebody said shut the border down. I'm like, do you really want to? I don't. I think that's silly. It's like we're not a communist country, dude. That's what communists do. That's what North Korea does. That's what Russia did. That's not cool. I don't like that at all. I don't like that idea. I don't want to think like that. But it doesn't need to be protected, absolutely. And because there are people here that need to be protected, and the government's main job is to protect its citizens, and they are not doing it by just saying, I don't care who's coming. I don't care if you got the entire freaking Guatemalan army. You can march them across, and nobody gives a shit.
Hold your thought. I want to ask you about a post. I got
Sure. Yeah.
I got potty.
Yeah, I got
I'm
to see too.
I'm surprised that lasted this long, honestly.
Yeah, so you almost 1 o'clock.
Yeah, no. Hang on a second. I want to ask you about All right, Bill, trade off. You go be real
Okay.
quick. Then I'll ask you about what I want to ask you.
See, my wife's texting me pictures. She's hanging out with my
Oh,
niece and her kids today.
oh.
They had ice cream.
If you want the light, it's the right to your left when you walk in. Conspiracy episode, ladies and gentlemen. I love these things. Let's see. A hot day in Oklahoma today. If you live here, drink water. I'm looking out my back window and it just looks hot. I live in a Bethany home too, which is not well insulated. So if it's 100 degrees outside, that means it's like 78 in my house. Gross. When I grow up, I want a real house. um, I hope everybody has a good day. I hope you all do something that makes tomorrow a little bit easier for you. That's what I try to do.
That's some head of sand, the longest feed actually going on.
Well, we've been talking for 3 hours, Bill.
Yeah.
And neither one of us have used the restroom. Like, I did a track workout this morning. I've noticed, so in some of my podcasts, like every like 45 minutes, I got to pee because I got a small bladder, I guess. I don't know.
We're old and we drink a lot of water.
That too, that too. But I've noticed that if I do a good running workout before the podcast, I don't have to pee as a lot because my body's soaking up the water that I'm drinking.
Right on.
So I try to do that on Saturdays now. So I don't pee as much because I can't pause it.
Oh.
So I just sit here and I ramble. Like, I just rambled a minute ago. I just rambled like about the heat and everything.
Oh yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you is, yesterday or the day before, you posted something about 198 traders voted for something. What was that?
That
you posted?
illegal immigrants could vote
So
in the election in this country. It didn't pass the Congress, but 198 Democrats voted that they should be able to vote in elections in the United States.
So it doesn't matter. So if you're get in this country illegally, they think that you should be able to vote for president of the United States.
Yes.
And do you by any chance know their reasoning behind that? Like, is it just because they want extra votes?
I'm guessing extra votes. I don't know because it doesn't make sense to me.
Did any of those people that voted for that like speak out and say this is why I think that, or was it just?
I didn't dive that deep because honest to God, it's like echo chamber moment.
Tim Kennedy posted the same thing.
Yeah, that's who I got the post from, and I was like, because I knew it was something. I heard something about that was coming up, and they want to do this. But like, I think every Republican rep, except for like 2 or 3, voted against it, and the 2 or 3 that didn't vote against it did not vote. They weren't there.
Mm.
And 198 Democrats voted for it. Like, yes, we want illegal aliens to vote in the president election, which is a right that only U.S. citizens should have. That I would think, because this is my reasoning. If I were to go to Canada illegally, do you think they would let me vote for their president? No. No. Or to England or France or Germany or Russia, anywhere. They probably would be, hell no.
Yeah.
You're not a citizen. You're not allowed to vote because you could just leave, if you wanted to, or there's no reason for you to stay here, to live here and live under this person's regime or whatever it may be. Rule.
Yeah.
There's no incentive for it. And we're the ones paying taxes. We're the ones, it's like, we should be the ones to make that decision. I think legally. I'm going to say I'm not against immigration. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to say that again. But I would not go to Mexico and vote for their president. I can't. And if I were to cross that border without a passport, what would happen to me? Even in Canada, I get arrested. I'd thrown in prison for several days. I don't know what they do in Mexico. Canada, they'd be like, get the out of here.
Yeah.
They'd throw me out. They wouldn't keep me. Even though I'm American, I'm not there to do harm. I'm up there to watch a hockey game, drink some beer, hang out. No. Nope. You need a passport, bud. And if I were to go up there just to live, I think their standards are pretty high. You have to have like a trade.
Mm-hmm.
You have to contribute, or
You
they're going to be like,
contribute something specific to their society, I believe.
Yeah, you got to add something. You got to bring something to the table that they want. And I'm not saying immigrants coming here don't, because everybody gets good at something. So I think America is more like, just come on over and let's do it legally, like by law. And I guess we just assume that most people are here to come here to do something good, or try to at least attempt to make a better life for themselves. They might fall into some bad shit, which happens. I'm not saying we all do. Now there's a lot of people have been here 4 generations and they're delinquents. So from the start, nobody can get it right. But they voted. Most of the Democrats, I think 10 voted against it, or 12. And they had about another small number that didn't vote because they probably.
Yeah, but it was a very close vote.
Yeah, and that's scary.
That's very scary.
And I'm like, do we want to just merge this continent together? Is that your plan? At least say it if you're going to do that. It's like, we want to just take over Mexico and Canada, not take over, but annex it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then allow them to vote. But I get to vote. Can I vote Trudeau out? That scumbag. I don't like him at all. I think he's a filthy communist, man. I don't like him at all.
I do think he's a dick.
Yeah, he's a very. I don't. Yes. No, I'm not going to say that.
No, we don't have to get into
Okay.
Canada's politics.
No, I'm going to say something that he has a very punchable face. This looks like he's a guy that was the dickhead bad guy in every 80s movie. He just has that look.
He does,
you know what I mean?
have that look.
You just like.
That's kind of we have a senator in Oklahoma that can't remember his name, but he's got slick back hair all the time. Can't think of his freaking name, man.
Is he national or state?
I don't know. But every time I see him on TV talking, I always point out to my wife, I'm like, doesn't he look like a criminal from a movie?
Yeah.
Like he's the guy who's gonna screw everybody over.
Yeah, he's like the
Like they're even
the-
starting to look like criminals, man.
he's the quarterback in Revenge of the Nerds. You know, just
Yeah.
that. We look at nerd. You know, just the guy. You just like, God, what a douchebag. You know, it's like always every time he's in the spotlight, oh, prim, proper hair looks perfect. You're like, you man, you can't even have a 5 o'clock shadow from time to time. You dick. You know, you're saying you're the working man's governor. It's like, dude, you get manicures like twice a week. Get the fuck out of here. You haven't broke a nail in 15 years. You know, it's like, yeah.
I
I've never
thought
seen you tend your
we're
own garden.
we're not represented by people who are like us
Yeah.
anymore, man. They're career politicians and they were raised in those types of families. They went to Ivy League schools where they got buddy with other governors' kids.
Groomed.
Yeah, they're groomed to be this. I mean, the majority of them, a lot of times, are lawyers, aren't they? Like they go to law school and then become politicians.
I think, yeah, probably majority of them, because I honestly think to be uh elected official like that, you got to have a really good understanding of the law. And um, and I'm not saying
But you don't have to.
you don't have to be. You can surround yourself with good lawyers and be successful.
Go.
Trump, you know. But any billionaire who doesn't surround himself with a good team of lawyers is a moron.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do that, they're stupid. Like I hear it from a lot of the people. A lot of people are like, oh, he's a billionaire because he doesn't pay taxes and he cheats on his taxes. And I'm like, if you're a billionaire and you're not finding a way to cheat on your taxes, you're an idiot.
Oh, you're not finding loopholes in the
Yeah, it's like you need to use the system. It's like Trump did. Trump admitted it when he's running against Hillary.
And that's one of the things
Yeah.
people liked. That's
Yeah.
one of the things a lot of people liked is he's like, hey, we all take advantage of the system. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, Hillary said he hasn't paid taxes, and he goes, "Well, change the tax laws. Then change the tax laws. Change it. Go ahead." And he's like, "But you won't, because you and your people use the same tax laws and tax codes that I do, and you use the same loopholes. The only way you're going to fix that is to change it. But you, me, everybody else uses the same thing. They make the same laws to benefit us." And he's like, "So go ahead, change it. I dare you."
yeah,
He literally dared her.
you won't
she-
because yeah,
No, of course not, because she's
the Clintons are lifelong politicians who
and they're not stupid either.
no, they're not. They're very smart.
Yeah.
They have spent a life in public service and run a charity, and they're ridiculously wealthy.
Mhm.
Like that doesn't add up, man.
Well, charity's a great, great wash of. It's a good way to not pay taxes. I'll just say that because anything you donate gets you
Written
record
off.
it, it gets written off on your taxes, as long as it's coming from your personal income or business income, and you're using that. It might be different on business, but I can tell you, like, if you own a big multi-billion-dollar business, you're of course you're trying to find ways to not cheat on your taxes, but find the loopholes business-wise, business tax-wise. So you can either use that money to put back into your own business, build your own infrastructure up and expand, or just to have a slush fund if something goes bad. But you can put that money back into your own business. And I don't run a business. I can think of a dozen ways to use that money. Maybe even pay some of your employees, you know. And they say businesses don't pay taxes, and I'm like, their employees do. That the person who owns it does. They have to. There's no way to avoid that.
Yeah.
It's like their personal income's taxed, period. If you don't pay your taxes on your personal income, you are going to jail. I don't care how big or strong. You're not bigger than the government. Of course, maybe in DC they get away with it.
Yeah.
They run the IRS and all that other stuff. But like, if I owned a business worth $20 billion, and I'm a millionaire, maybe close to a billionaire, maybe even a billionaire, that money I'm bringing home personally is definitely being taxed, unless I'm using that money to donate personal income to charities to write it off on my own personal income. You still have to spend the money to get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not really making money off it. You're just finding a way to get, at the end of the year, those tax dollars are coming back to your pocket. But then there's a cycle. It's like you donate it again the next year, it comes back, and you donate it, and it's just that circle right there. The money's going to help whatever organization, whether it be a good one or a shady one, because there's shell companies out there that a lot of politicians, especially, donate their money to, and it's just washed and given back to them. And to look into it usually costs you your life, everything, because those people are powerful enough to do that kind of stuff. But even big businesses, going. No, let's get that out there. Sorry, something in my throat. But yeah, they're not gonna. Greed is like you said, greed's a powerful thing, man. Those seven deadly sins will, and people who are believe in socialism or some level of that forget those. They think that doesn't exist, and I'm like, dude, Bernie Sanders. All right, that dude's never changed the way he thought though his whole career. Dude is democratic socialist or socialist. Always been since day one, 1981 or whatever, when he became a senator or congressman up in was it Vermont or New Hampshire or something up there. It's like I'll give it to him for sticking to his guns. He's never changed in what he believes. But people think, oh, we do this and blah 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 blah, we'll get something back. I'm like, dude, that's just trickle down economics, which we know doesn't work, but on a government level instead of a business level. It's not going to work. The government, you think that money's going to get into our pockets? Of course not. Why would it? Come on, let's be honest. And you're leaving out those things that all humans are susceptible to, that we are flawed. You think these politicians aren't flawed? Like they're humans. They are flawed. And I've heard people say it's like people become president for several reasons. Clinton, he loved that power and getting all that
Yeah.
thrown at him. You know what I mean? And he loved it and he used it, took advantage of it. He was lust was his one of his sins that he was overcome with. Um, I could say Trump is greed and maybe pride, and Biden's definitely pride.
Ego for sure.
He still won't let go, and everybody's like, "Dude, you're done. Don't you realize it's time to pass the torch, man?"
Can we just take a second to
Yeah.
just like, I'm sorry, but if he wasn't president and he was just your grandfather, like you would
No, I
tell
think he
him,
would be
you would
great.
tell him to just sit down. Like, Grandpa, it's time to sit down. Like, you've had a great run. You've done a lot, man, but we need you to sit down in
He
this
just step
recliner.
aside.
Yeah. Here's a cookie. Here's a glass of milk. Have a seat in your recliner and enjoy.
Well, and here's another thing. You're right. Exactly. It's time to pass the torch to your children, whatever. But, and I'll say this, I know even on a personal level, even a lot of people, human beings, are reluctant to give up that power, even if it's just a tiny little, it's you see it with children, they cry if they want something. I want ice cream. No, you're not getting ice cream for dinner or breakfast. You're getting, this.
Yeah.
I made mac and cheese. That's what you get. If you finish that, You might get some ice cream later. It's a power stroke. They want that, not this. And they'll sit there and they're like, I'm not eating this. And I'm like, well,
Then you're not eating.
so yeah, like we were raised like, well, you're gonna be hungry. Where some people more modern nowadays say, oh, that's torture to let a kid go hungry. And it's like it's a power. A kid knows if you give in that they have that power, you're not gonna let them go hungry. It's like, dude, that bugs me too. I don't want a kid to go hungry. I only want my dog to go hungry. You know, I would starve before I let my dog go because I love that dog.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but believe me, my dog eats just fine. She's very well nourished. She's a great dog. But you have to, when you get older, you're the patriarch of your family, but you're starting to fade. Everybody sees it, everybody knows it. You know it, but you still want to hold on to that because it's all you've got left. Everything else, your wife, she loves you, she's there for you, whatever, but I'll drive, honey. I drive. No, that kind of thing, that relinquishment of the surrender of power,
And control.
the control, it's hard to do mentally. Was it Dianne Feinstein, the senator, whatever, for like 50, 60 years, California? She was in a wheelchair and literally just looked like a corpse. She surrendered or gave power of attorney to her daughter while she was still a sitting senator. Power of attorney to make this life decisions for her because she couldn't even. And obviously, I mean, she's probably wearing a diaper, She was 90 years old. God bless her, long, beautiful life for her. But she was still a sitting senator that made decisions that affected millions of people in her state or across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked her, like, are you going to step down and retire? No. She died 3 months later. She was dying. She gave up decision making to her daughter. And then when they asked her to run again, no. Mitch McConnell. Like, dude, how many times did he just vapor lock on live television during interviews?
Goodness.
2 or 3 times. Oh, so what do you think, Congressman, about that? And he's like, and just sat there for like 30 seconds to a minute and just like he's having a stroke.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, cut the camera. Oh, no, actually keep it on because this is great. But, and then for like the next 6 months, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna run again. I'm gonna be congressman, whatever, senator, whatever he is. It's like, dude, you just vapor locked television. You keep doing it. You've lost it. You're done. You're what, 78 years old? Been up there for 40 plus years, as long as Biden has. It's time to step down, relinquish. He finally said he was like, okay, I'm done after this term because I'm just too old to do it. I'll retire at this term. He's like, retire now.
Yeah.
You're still gonna have to vote for the next year on decisions that are gonna affect all of us. It's like, no, do it now. Give it. Well, I don't know how that works. If he did retire, I think the way that works, they have to give the seat to the opposition
I don't know.
or something like
I'd have
that.
to look that
like,
up, man. I would.
like if Biden were to like stroke out like right now and he's
Well, then Kamala would become.
Kamala would become president, but the
'Cause she's second.
speaker, and then the speaker would become vice president, but the next speaker would, since it was Republican, would have to be Democrat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's like the rule or whatever. So like if those move up, because right now the speaker's a Republican,
Mhm.
Johnson, I think. Kamala just became president. He moves up to VP. That would have to be a Democrat
Okay.
Speaker of the House. It would switch.
Hmm.
And like some law they made a while back, but I'm like, huh. Because that sort of thing, and if Pelosi got indicted or she retired, but she stepped down, she retired. She's still one of the most powerful women in the country.
Yep.
But and still making decisions. But like she she stepped down, like retired. She's like, I'm not running again. She stepped aside, and then they did the vote, and they put a couple of Republicans. What was it? The first guy was in there like 3 months, and they kicked him out.
Yeah.
And
Wasn't there a lady?
dude, I don't know. It was a clown.
There
It was
was-
a circus.
There was a few. They went in and then they're like, nope, you're not doing it.
Yeah, and the guy they have now, at first I was like, okay, he seems to make sense. But then now he's kind of starting to act like he's part of the system, part of the cabal. And I'm like, the last few decisions he made, I'm like, dude,
Who told you to do that?
yeah. And like, I can't finger point it, but it made me nervous. And I thought it was like, dude, I thought you were like, because usually you would side with your party at that level, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
Like kind of like Trump being arrested and convicted, he was okay with. I'm like, dude, this is the Republican candidate for president. Why aren't you like speaking out against it like your party would do, you think? But a lot of them were like, whatever, or what's the word, like very silent about it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that made me nervous. I'm like, they don't want him to be president either, which makes me feel better, but it makes me feel real nervous about what's their plan.
Yeah.
If they don't want him in, if he's going to do something they don't like or expose something they don't like, they're going to try to keep him out. And I'm talking both sides.
Yeah.
Because all this was going on over the last several years, and none of them are really speaking out against it. Nobody was doing anything about it on his side. And where if that everything they were even mentioned about Biden, the whole party was right behind him, linked arms, man. And I'm like, why isn't this side doing it? Why are they just whatever? I don't care. Or it's like that made me. I'm saying he's not the perfect candidate. I like Kennedy better, but that made me like think of him more as a better candidate for the Republican side than, he's still not my number one. Kennedy is, but he's better than Joe Biden, a better option. And I'm still wondering what the Democrats are going to do now, since we all know that Joe Biden's not fit.
Yeah.
And now they've realized it the whole time. They knew it the whole time. They
Yeah.
never admitted it. Now they're trying. Now they're starting to admit it. It's like, well, who are you going to put? You didn't have primaries. You shut that all down. You're like, Joe's our guy. There will no be. They said it themselves. There will be no primaries. They gave their own Democrat people, voters, no options. What does that say about them? Does that say they're just curious? They're only worried about their own power and control,
Yeah.
and not concerned with their own voters want? Because I'm not saying there's whatever, but there's plenty of good candidates they could have put in a year and a half ago just to run, just to put their names out there, not necessarily be really on the front lines or speaking every day and putting it out there, but just somebody that's running against him.
Yeah.
In their own party that could be just another Muppet, but somebody. They didn't even do that. There's nothing. There's no other option.
I've heard talk of them wanting just the other day. I heard someone talk about how they're talk of Kamala replacing Biden as
I've heard that.
the ticket, which that scares the shit out of me, man. Because if anybody's a yes person, she is.
Oh yeah,
And she will be beholden to the corporations and the people who give her money. Shh.
Yeah, she's
Almost done.
She's definitely dug in with the party, and that's obvious because when she was running against Joe,
She talked so much crap.
Oh yeah, she hated him. He's a racist.
He's a
son of
racist, but
Yeah.
then when she became VP, oh, he's a great option. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Joe. We've been friends for 30 years. You never met that fucking guy before you ran against him. Give me a break. I could be lying about that. She might have met him, but she didn't like him. And Tulsi Gabbard absolutely dismantled her in primaries. Her numbers dropped to like less than 2% after the one of the good options the Democrats had. I still like Tulsi
I
Gabbard.
love Tulsa. I've heard her
Yeah.
talk a few times.
And
I like her
Andrew
mentality.
Yang, like both of them were great candidates. They were very much in the gray area.
Mhm.
They weren't just party, power. They were like, they made excellent points,
They were more in the middle.
but they were not yes men. So the party, their own party got rid of them or crucified them.
Yep.
And they put Kamala in because she is a yes man or woman, and she's going to do exactly as she is told. Or Tulsi's too much of a what I saw it wild card.
Yeah, loose cannon, wild
Yeah,
card.
that's loose cannon. So is Andrew Yang because he's like they were about the people. What's best for the American people? Shit, we're about best for our party. And that's not the way it should be. Republicans are the same way. It's all
Yeah.
about the party. It's not about the people.
Yeah, it's not Republican or Democrat, like you said. It's both of them. They both do it.
They're both wings on the same bird.
One's the right and one's the left.
Exactly. And
That's a good analogy. I like that.
And they're going the same direction.
I like
It's
that.
still power. Yeah. No, it's not original.
I like the analogy.
Yeah.
Regardless
Wings on
of
the-
whether
yeah.
you came up with it or somebody else did. It's a good analogy.
And I try not to lose sleep about it, but it's a lot of this shit scares me. Like there's so much corruption, so much and it's right there in front of us. And
That's my biggest problem with it is they dangle it in front of our faces.
we see it, and nobody. What's worse than evil is the fact that people see it and do nothing. That's the only thing worse than actual evil.
Evil prevails when good men stand by and do nothing.
Exactly. The indifference of good.
The indifference of good men.
And it's like I meme my way. That's the power I have right now. I use memes to, push what I believe out. It might not be accurate. It might not. Most of it, I try to be kind of funny about it. Sometimes I'm serious, but honestly, it is kind of funny because our government's freaking 12-ring circus, man. It's just insane. It's so corrupt that people are like, "Oh, daddy government, give me more." Oh, and I'm like, why would you put any faith into those people at all? They're horrible. They're corrupt. They're greedy. They're evil. Not all of them. They might get up there and have good intentions and try to start. 2 years in, it's over. They're store bought.
Being captured.
Yeah. What was probably the best thing I ever saw politically over the last 4 years was that guy up in Pennsylvania, that congressman.
I don't know. Tell me the
I
story.
don't know.
Maybe
He's I can't remember his name. The guy had like a massive stroke like a year before while he was running.
Oh, you're talking about the dude with the goatee.
Yeah, he always
and
wears like
bald
a
head.
yeah, he
always
wears like a hoodie
A hoodie.
and like sweatpants or gym shorts.
Yeah.
around. And this dude like could barely talk, and he won. He beat Dr. Oz. I shit you not.
I know. I remember
Doctor.
now. I remember now.
And can't remember his name. Peterman, something like that.
Doesn't matter.
And was a total yes man.
Yeah.
Because he was like, it's like, dude, his brain's still recovering from that stroke, man. That takes a long time for your brain to heal. It heals slower than all your other organs and external. And like a year, like 2 years in, 2.5 years in, this dude does like a total 180. He's a Democrat. He's up there talking like a conservative now. And I'm like, what's going? He's like, we need to protect our border, blah, 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 blah. You know, and I'm like, what? Whoa, your party doesn't say that.
Yeah.
Hold on, buddy. What's going on? And it's like, now he's like, we need to get hard on crime and, you know, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh and blah, 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 you know, and it's like, he's trying to like make change, like real change.
Real change.
And of course, the Democrats are like, you know, they don't like it. And I'm like, of course, because he's not your yes man anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually thinking about his people, his
Constituents,
that voted for him in.
which is what the job is.
Yeah. And it's like he's starting to think like somebody who actually gives a shit. So there's hope. And there's always hope. I haven't lost hope. I still believe that. I'll always believe that because I believe in a higher power than what's right here. Call it God. But I believe and I'm going to finish on this, but there's energy in this galaxy, this universe, this world, whatever. And what you put out is what you get back. And if it's negativity, that's going to come back. If it's pressing, if it's whatever energy you're pushing out, like, that's coming back to you. If it's positive, good energy, it's coming back to you. It's drawn to it. It's not the opposite. It doesn't work opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It's only drawn to what you put out. And that could be just the right attitude. People, friends, family members, they put out that anger, that negativity, that whatever, it comes back to it. Doesn't get better.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, it's just like, how can you be that way all the time and still think you're doing all right? It's like, I can't think that way. I tell my wife this all the time, like, I love to laugh. I love to have a good time. I hate being mad or angry or frustrated. And when you're like that, because things aren't going right, you wake up and you spill your coffee, stub your toe. It's like, yeah, it's not starting good, but it can get better if you want it. You can't dwell on that stupid bullshit right at the beginning. It's like, fix it. Write that shit. I like that. I'm going to start using that now. And it's like, don't let it define your day or your week. It's like, dude, drink your coffee, take a shit, wipe your ass, take a shower, and get on with your day. Move forward. Don't dwell on bullshit in the past. It's behind you. There's nothing you can do about it. It's gone.
Same.
This podcast we're doing is going to be put out on the airwaves, and that's it. There's nothing else we can do about it. Can't take it down. And that's fine. I signed up for it. You asked me. I said, yeah, sure, let's do this. And we might enlighten a few people with it. We might not. We might create enemies. I don't know. But at least they know where we stand. Right now, those things can change. So believe me, if people don't change, they're silly. That's stupid. You need to change. You need to evolve. You need to grow.
You need to have an open mind.
Yes, with everything. Because if I didn't
Be willing to listen.
Yeah, if I didn't grow, evolve, change my mindset, I'd still be like 420 pounds and total smoking a pack a day, drinking 5 nights a week, total loser piece of shit.
I'm so glad I changed.
Yeah, me too.
I was right there drinking with you, bro.
Yeah, it's like I wouldn't have been married. My wife would definitely not, ain't gonna marry no drunk. and a negative person. She's not like that, and she doesn't want to be around people like that. I even get a little frustrated. She walks out of the room. She doesn't want to be around negative energy. I can't bring that to the house. I can't bring that into our lives. There's times when we're both a little frustrated about little things or whatever, but we've never really fought. And I've been with her. There were 2.5 years. No, we dated for 3 years before we got married, and we've been married for a little, so 5.5 years now we've been together. And we've had disagreements, but never like yelling at each other, or never anything like that at all. It was never anger. It was always just like a misunderstanding,
Yeah.
slight little tiffs. And because I know I have a temper and I have an attitude, that's part of my genetic code.
That's a very sweet way to say it.
Yes, I have a
Bill.
temper. I can get very angry. I don't like being angry, but that's something I think it was genetically.
You are a Deneen.
Yeah, I'm a Deneen, and we have a temper. Thank God I learned to control it. I grew up when I was a kid until I was probably 22, around that age. I'd fight at the drop of a hat. I didn't care. I literally was like, I got to stop doing this because now I could go to jail for just throttling somebody because they called me a name or something.
Absolutely.
Whatever. It's like I have to have a really good reason to put my hands on somebody. And I need to learn to control my anger. And I started doing that. I'm not saying that.
Well, that goes back into what you were saying about, like start your day off bad. You can change it.
Yeah,
You know?
you can. It's like don't. Yeah. Oh, I woke up late. Blah 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 blah. And it's like you're here. You're alive. You're ready to
And
go.
get through this moment and
Yeah.
then deal with this moment and then deal with this moment what you were
Yeah.
talking about earlier.
Yeah, compartmentalize it. Break it down. It's like I want to define your day. Who cares? Like whatever. Oh, I woke up late. I couldn't get my coffee before I left, so I had to, and Starbucks, the line was long. Da, da, da. And I was like, let's get you coffee right here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, that's the wife.
It is.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we've cussed 3.5 hours, Bill.
Okay.
Usually I end by asking my guests what they learned, but you kind of just went into that. So
I learned.
I think we'll just end it right there, man. Like,
Okay.
because you did a good description of something that you've learned. So, I mean, your wife's calling, which means you need to go do chores.
Yeah, I need to go to. She's probably wondering if I'm going to the grocery in the meat market.
Yes.
I don't buy grocery store meat anymore.
Yeah.
Because the last
I
time I did,
It's, man.
last time I did, it was rancid, and I'm like, that's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a good day. Stay
Yes,
blessed,
it
Bill.
was good. Hope y'all enjoy. I did. All right, I gotta go.
Yeah, call your wife back real quick. Hey, we got into chat. We went to